Good morning, everyone. Hello. Oh, excuse me. Hello, hello. As soon as, I'm curious what the delay is, I'm going to do a quick audio check. And hello. Oh, excuse me. Hello, hello. As soon as, I'm curious what the delay is, I'm going to do a quick audio check. Okay, that's not bad. Because I wasn't sure if I had the right microphone set up with the right. Because I've got this microphone here for when I'm sitting down, and then I have the other microphone up on the counter behind me. I'm going to, even though I'm far away from that one, I'm going to check that real quick. Testing, testing. I know I'm far away. Just because sometimes things change in between me sitting down and standing up. Testing. Cool. All right, that sounded fine. I checked all this before I started streaming, but yeah, there are times when I will stream and then, like, I don't know, something goes off in between the time I set it up and then 15 minutes later. So it's always worth double checking. But good morning, everyone. I am Rebecca from ChemKnits. And today we're going to play with some neon colors and dye what I like to affectionately call yarn mops. Typically, a yarn mop is a bonus skein of yarn that I dye while working on another project. So if I am speckling, for example, there'll be dye powder on my gloved fingertips, and I'll take that dye powder and wipe it on another skein. Well, today we're going to be creating that like random wiped, I suppose I could almost call it finger painted skein, and we're going to create those as the goal. I'm not dyeing anything else specifically here. The goal is to create these random neon colors on the yarn in kind of random ways. And so, yeah, I'm really excited. Now, as you might gather from what is right here, these yarns are available for pre-order. I have a few different yarn bases available that some of them I'm dyeing up today. If we get more pre-orders during the stream, then maybe things will go even longer. But this, I don't often do dyed to order listings, but I brought back this specifically for this year's Spring Mini Skein mini series. And unlike the other listings for that series, you don't need to order an SMSMS yarn set to pre-order the neon rainbow yarn that I've linked at the top of the chat and down in the video description. Hello, everyone. Hello and welcome. Now 7 different kind of yarn bases I'll be dyeing today. We have 75-25 sock, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, 100% superwash merino in DK weight and worsted weight. We have yarn bases with neon fluorescent neps in both fingering and DK weight. We have a zebra sock yarn that I'll show you in a moment. And then the sparkle option, there's a few different sparkle bases, but those are all at least 70% superwash merino. They have 20 to 25% nylon and 5% silver stellina. Just because I have those from a few different companies. And now, actually, I'm going to do something a little weird. Because I want to show, oh dear. I want to show where you can find some of this info, but my mouse is acting weird and I haven't moved this over yet. All right. Let's move you over here. Okay, so very meta. This is this video right now. But if you're ever curious, I always say that I have links down in the video description. If you're on a desktop like I am right here, you'll see this little box right here, and it says more. If you click on more, it expands. And so this is where I keep all of the links. And so normally in a video, I'll have some links that I want to share. Maybe I'm promoting right now the Spring Mini Skein mini series. Those will be at the top. And then I'll have items used in this video where I'll have a list of either specific items or items that I use frequently. Some of those links are affiliate links, so I might earn a commission if you make a purchase. And then in a standard YouTube video, I'll have a section here that says video contents. And under that, there will be linked chapters. So there'll be timestamps to bring you to a certain part of the video, but that's also where I will have information like I'll list the dye brand and dye colors I used. If I'm measuring out liquid dyes, I'll list those measurements down in that section. And so that's separate from the items used in the video. And so I figured now's a good time to show that off. And I did find that on mobile, you do have to, because if I do show less again, on mobile, sometimes you'll see the more button right under the title, and you have to click that twice now. The video description used to be a lot more obvious, and it's now more hidden, unfortunately. But yeah, I figured that it was worth sharing that. All right. And hello from Scotland and Denmark. Oh my gosh, from all over. Let's see. I think it's a good time of day for like Europe when I do these US morning streams. Okay. Oh, right. I told you about the yarn bases. And the yarn bases that I mentioned here, which you can't see as I pull that down. Oh, I suppose. See, also Etsy likes to hide item details and learn more about this item. They've hidden the descriptions more. So there's information about all the bases down in there. And I will add that unlike the other SMSMS yarn listings, this yarn, since you know it's going to be a neon rainbow yarn mop, is not going to come wrapped. And it doesn't come with any like progress keepers or anything like that. And so unlike, it's in the, you can find it in the 2025 SMSMS section of the ChemKnits Creations Etsy shop. And yeah, we've got pre-orders. I can go through quickly what each of these are. The SMSMS is a series that I do every year. It's the Spring Mini Skein Mini Series. And so during the first week of June, I think is when it's starting. When is it starting? June 2nd? Aha, yes, starting June 2nd. We'll have at least 4 dyeing videos that come out in the evening featuring dyeing different mini skein sets. In the past, we've had speckled sets, a lot of different types of techniques in one video. We've had fade sets, we've had sets of tonals, a lot of different variety. But the purpose is to dye mini skeins that are all intended to work together in some kind of way and to show off different techniques and a lot of different yarn bases. And when I say a lot of different yarn bases, there are a lot of different yarn bases this year. And so if you have any questions about any of the yarn bases, please feel free to reach out to me on Etsy about that. And oh yeah, and there's also some 5 skein. Most of the sets are 5 mini skeins, 5 20-gram mini skeins, so 100 grams total. There are select sets, which of course you can't see the drop down, of 6 mini skeins. We have some in a 2-ply sock yarn left, and some in a superwash merino silk blend of the 120-gram mini skein sets. And so this yarn is going to come wrapped with fun extras, and the whole thing is a ton of fun. There are bonuses that you can add on, and at this point, all these add-ons with this teal color are available for people who buy the sets to give those customers priority. There will be a mystery 100-gram skein that I'll dye that'll come out after the mini skein dyeing videos. You can get a yarn mop from one of the videos that I'm filming. And I mentioned yarn mops. You know, today we're going to do the type wiping dye on a skein. It's going to be very variegated. Yarn mops also sometimes are more tonal because I might be soaking up leftover dye in a dye bath in some kind of way. And the yarn mop listing can also include prototype skeins, swatch skeins, leave no dye behind skeins, where if I have extra dye mixed, I might use that to create something. And so those are the yarn mops. And then the final thing for SMSMS are the soft blanks. And I think that I think I'm going to include them in the main video, but I may also do a bunch of shorts, but a video itself about talking when you might want mini skeins versus when you might want a sock blank. And so I'm trying to dye sock blanks that are either a similar color progression, color family to the mini skein set, or using the same techniques that I did to dye the mini skeins. And so sometimes you'll get a sock blank that is really, really similar to the mini skein set. Sometimes there are more differences. And so we'll talk about all that in the videos. And then the series ends with a vlog. So the whole thing is a lot of fun. But today's main focus is the one non-mystery thing. And all of these pre-orders will ship at the latest in the beginning of May. So let's, I guess, get to it. Nope, that's not where I wanted, but hi. Oh man. 2:40 p.m. Oh my goodness. Okay. And yes, please like the video and make sure you're subscribed. Good morning, good morning. All right. Now, eventually, I will be putting on my respirator mask to be more muffled. I mean, the goal isn't to be more muffled. The goal is to be using dry dye powders, and therefore I will be wearing my deluxe rubber respirator mask, safety glasses, and gloves. But first, we're going to pull out the colors. My gloves are still wet. I was steam setting yarn from this month's Dyepot PS, which is the early access video that ChemKnits patrons get over on Patreon, but those videos are eventually public to everyone. All right, where is my radioactive? And did I just put those all in a spot where you guys can't see them? Oh no, I didn't. Okay. There's a delay. So when I'm up at the counter, right now I'm seeing myself just initially pull them out. So we do have a little bit of a delay. All right, the colors that I am going to use today are Dharma acid dyes in fluorescent fuchsia, fluorescent safety orange, fluorescent lemon, radioactive, Caribbean blue, and purple pop. There is a fluorescent blue color blend that Jacquard has. It's called Black Light Blue. It is a mixture of a colorless fluorescent acid dye with some blue pigment. It is a super fun color, but you have to use significantly more of it because it has a lot more of the colorless pigment than the blue, so that way it appears fluorescent. And so because I'm dyeing so many skeins, I'm going to use a blue that is going to look neon, but is not fluorescent. And so that's why I've picked that today. Okay. I am giving a nice shadow today. It is a very dreary, dreary day in Massachusetts. Now, some other ways I'm going to set things up. I have some steamer baskets on my stove ready to go. And my plan when we get started is to take some dye powder from each of those colors and put it into a little cup. And this way, if I need to take a break, I can pop the cups into this container and close the lid. That way, that's just an added layer of protection, so that way I can take off the respirator mask and get a mask break if I need it. But the main reason why I'm doing things this way is that when I have the dye powder on my gloves, and then I'm going to wipe it onto wet yarn, but then I'm going to need to go get more dye. And normally when I'm doing a dyeing project, I don't go back and forth between the dye jar and wet yarn that frequently. And I don't want to introduce moisture into those dye containers because that can cause the dye to clump and cause more issues later on. So the dye that I'll put in these cups is probably going to get a little bit wet. I don't know how much I'm going to dry my hands in between each one. It might start becoming a little paste-like. We'll keep an eye on it. Maybe I will make an effort to sort of dry most of the liquid off of my gloves in between going back into those dye containers. But I want to give myself, I want to protect and not accidentally contaminate any of these colors. I don't want to introduce Caribbean blue into the fluorescent lemon by mistake, if that makes sense. Okay, but before we do any of this, we need to add acid to our yarn. So a lot of those yarn bases I mentioned, I pre-soaked them for, how long? I guess it's been a couple of hours, but just in plain tap water. And the reason for that is that I did not want, I have a larger volume of water in the 5-gallon bucket where things are pre-soaking, but I wanted to have some kind of more measured amount of acid before getting started. So let's see. And we can see now how full this basin gets. So that was 8 cups of water. And now that's 16 cups of water. And we're going to bring white vinegar. I always add my vinegar into a little cup because it's really hard with a large container to measure out a tablespoon easily. And it's not that I need accuracy. There's sometimes I care a little bit more, but let's do 8. 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is a lot higher than I might normally do. I need to write this down. See, some things I make up as I go along. So we're going to do see, I just made myself a little note. Oh, I should add neon yarn mops. I don't have my diary easily accessible at the moment. Okay. And now let's bring over yarn. Oh, and I meant to add that if you are interested in a neon rainbow yarn mop and you would like a yarn base that is not one of the few that I've listed, since I'm live taking care of this right now, you can make a request in the comments and I can add an option to the listing if that's something that I have. Or, I mean, timing wise, we could try. We'll see. Okay, let's do. Swish. All right, I'm squeezing out a lot of the water from the pre-soak, but it's hard when I'm picking up 400 grams of yarn all at once. The more water that is still in the yarn, then the more water I sort of reintroduce into here, and that could reduce the acidity or raise the pH a little bit, not a lot. But over time, as I add more yarn to this same bath, remove it, over time that will change the pH. And so at some point I might choose to add more acid into here. Okay. And of course things would also be different if I was going to add dry yarn into this, which Who knows, maybe we'll do. What did I want to do? Just for fun, I brought over my black light just to show. Oh, I hope that shows up well on camera. I gotta see. Well, it's funny because you can see one of the yarn bases looks fluorescent. I don't know if you can see the neps from that far away, but this is the DK weight yarn. It's superwash merino nylon, and it's got neps in it, and the neps are fluorescent. It has a combination of like green, pink, yellow, and orange, which is a lot of fun. But the contrast between that skein here and those other skeins that just definitely are not glowing is always fun. Oh man. So I do have this and I can bring it out later. Now, a few years ago for SMSMS, and oh, that might be the fingering. I meant, oh no, that is fingering. A few years ago, I did this as the bonus skein on the zebra base for SMSMS, and so it's fun to bring it back. So the first 4 skeins I have here, Knit Pick Swish DK, 100% superwash merino. We've got the Neo DK, the Zebra Gold. This is, I think, 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. And what makes this zebra yarn, there's no zebra fiber in it, interesting, is that one of the plies, it's a 2-ply yarn, one of the plies is variegated white and black. And so that adds like an extra fun element of dimension to the yarn. And then we have a sparkle yarn, which I don't know if the sparkle is showing up on camera. So those are the first 4 that we'll do. And so, yeah, those of you that have pre-ordered this colorway already, I will be dyeing your skein up today. If you place a pre-order today or later, I may or may not have dyed yours today. I have a feeling I'll do a second one. I'll do at least one more round of this, and that may be off camera. So, just gonna say, all right, we're about ready to go. I just have to go get my respirator mask. All right, and I think I'm gonna start with 200 grams at a time. And don't worry, I will move this in a moment to make sure I'm at a good distance from where everything is. Oh, but I do actually, I'll do that after. Okay, let's start with the Zebra and the Neo. Because then I'll eventually figure out how many skeins I want to be working on at once. Okay, but I think you guys can see pretty much everything really well. Okay, I can't move this too far that way because I need to be able to reach. Yeah, and I guess the only other thing I want to do is, because I think I will film one of these, at least, for the vlog. Okay, so, I'm now about to get a lot more muffled because I'm now going to put on my deluxe rubber respirator mask, safety glasses, and the gloves so we can start working with the powder. This is my respirator mask. I think I have a link to all the different tools and equipment I like to use, including my safety glasses. I like these ones a lot. They fit my face really well. What was I going to say? Oh, but please use this opportunity to ask questions. I'll do my best to answer. And if people come in and wonder why I'm so muffled, please let them know that I'm all safety geared up. All right. Let's start this. So the way I'm going to start is I'm going to take a really big pinch, maybe even 2 pinches of color into a container, and then come and wipe this color off, using mostly one skein, maybe a little bit on the other, but the goal is to get something random. And the nice thing, I guess, about the way that I have things set up right now is that since I'm focusing on adding the dye into these cups, that helps me put a little bit less focus onto our yarn. Now the other thing when doing something like this you might discover is that some colors stick to your gloves more than others. And so that's something else that you find with experience. But yeah, finger painting is a really nice way to describe this. Now, one thing I did not do was label any of those cups. Maybe 1, 2. So if we have a colorway and I'm like, oh, I want to add more orange, it's going to be really easy for me to accidentally add yellow. But they are very different colors. Now, I love a lot of the jacquard fluorescent acid dyes as well. I just have a lot more of the Dharma ones, which is why I'm going with Dharma today. That's really the only reason. Now, the one other question I have as we're working on this is, do I want to double process the skeins or not? And I dropped some blue on the counter. We will clean that up. And what I mean by double process, I mean that we could do a round, oh, the blue is going to go far. We could do a round of color and then steam set the yarn for a little bit and then do a second round of color. This can help you layer things versus having them be completely blended. I totally skipped green, didn't I? I sure did. There we go. Cleaned that up. I totally skipped green. And right now I'm thinking that, yeah, I might want to double process. Because some of these colors like to spread a lot, and I think I'm going to want more coverage. Okay, 1, 2. Hopefully I'm not pulling out too much dye to start with. It probably would have been handy for me to bring the scale. Now, as I'm moving around, I'm looking for a section on the yarn to add the dye that didn't have color before. And look at the way the blue is ending up on this container, and that's all fine. Okay, purple. But I was starting to say I like a lot of the jacquard dyes as well. The fluorescent fuchsia and hot fuchsia are the same. Like those are the same pigment, but some of the blends are very different. So obviously jacquard has that fluorescent blue, the black light blue that I mentioned, and and Dharma does not have one like that. Similarly, I guess I like the orange from Dharma better, but I like the green from jacquard a little better, but I think that this is still going to work well. Okay, this is really beautiful and has a lot of coverage right now. We can probably get more coverage in a little bit. I'm really just going to pop it into the steamer basket for 5 minutes or so while we focus on this friend, and we may as well wipe that up. And when I pull it out for the second pass, we may not do every single color the exact same amount, or we might. But actually, I might enjoy this system of always having a second skein kind of ready to go because then I have something else to wet my hands on. Now, again, I do want to attempt to keep my gloves dry. But now this time, I'm probably going to need to add even more powder, and I'm rubbing the powders onto my hands, and then coming in to wipe it off the color. So it's likely I'm going to get less dye on my gloved hands for each color. But actually, some of the blues are transferring off of that skein onto my hand, which is funny. And as time goes on, I might be more and more willing to go in with damp fingers. But yeah, I mean, if I'm focusing on doing a speckled yarn or like a sock blank or something, a lot of times I will focus a lot less on the yarn mop. So having it be my focus is a little different. Now for this pass, I don't think I'm going to go into the blue because we have a fair amount of blue on it. Oh, because we had to clean up that mess. And so we had to do that already. But the goal is to get something random and fun, and honestly, just having the mop for my mop is helping with that whole process. Yeah, and so I'll look for like an area where there's less pigment, and then go in, rub the powder on my gloves, and then wipe it off. Now, radioactive looks a little bit less green at first when you add it on, and then sometimes that does increase with time. But yeah, this is sort of my process. Okay, so I'm not adding blue, but I will add purple. And this time, I'm realizing now I did not dry off my gloves, which means that I just touched the dye, and now I have it, like, a lot more of it on my glove than the other times that I've done this. So I guess we'll see what makes the most sense. I mean, we have a lot of coverage on here, but I may decide I want a little bit more. So again, that's going to go into that steamer basket for a little while, and now I'll actually set a timer, and yeah, we'll carry on. Okay, but I think the other thing that I'd like to do, because each time I go into the pre-soak and get some of that water, then my gloves get very wet, which I don't want. So I think what I'm going to do is add a lot of yarn to acid. All at once. So that way I have more that's just ready to go. Do-do-do-do-do. Okay. That's good. Whew. Let's see. Are those two skeins? Wait, I'm covered partially by a heart. I will answer that in a moment. The first two skeins, one was zebra, yes. But I have more zebra coming too. What I haven't done yet is bring over the black light. All right. When I have a yarn dyeing day like this, I always have a pile of pre-ripped paper towels. Let's see. The question is, are those two new skeins or is this the same zebra one? Gotcha. These are two new skeins. So I set a timer. I'll do 10 minutes. Sorry. It's harder when I get out of breath with the respirator. The first two skeins were the zebra and multi-colored fluorescent neps. Here I have sparkle and swish decay. And I don't think the sparkle's coming through on the webcam, but I'm getting a little show as I walk around. Oh. It's just so fun to be so random. Gosh, I feel like it was many years ago when I was asked if this is something that I could do on purpose or not. Because this used to just be like the byproduct of whatever it was I was working on, not the main focus. And so it's just really exciting. But yeah, having the second skein to sort of assist with the first, and the towel I'm using right now, as my hands get damper, it is a little bit damp, but it's okay that things aren't perfectly dry. I will want to be drier if I go back into those dye containers that are now slightly off camera. And if you're just tuning in, I'm dyeing up some neon rainbow yarn mops, which is what I call this colorway, because typically, oh, I guess I did do yellow. Typically, if I have dye on my gloves like this, it's because I'm speckling or doing something like that. And then this is a technique that I would do to just use up that leftover dye to leave no dye behind on whatever it is I'm dyeing. But I've become, and customers have become really into this type of colorway. So we like to showcase it with intent now. And yeah, I'll move the yarn around. And again, if my focus is on another colorway, then I'm not necessarily trying to get like even coverage across all the strands or anything. I'm literally just looking for a white patch to wipe off the color. And that's a lot of fun. And so one of the things I'm going to do today is do one pass, steam set, and then potentially do a second pass, depending on the coverage and what color I think I might want more of, which I have a feeling is probably going to be a lot of green. Just from past experience, that's the one color that tends to not show through as much. Which is mainly because our green tends to be very, very yellow based. Okay, we got a new zebra skein now. Because I removed a bunch of those from the pre-soaks, so now they're just damp. And let's go backwards with this one. I'm definitely going to need to add more dye to these cups. That's a good feeling. It's always annoying when I mix dyes up with citric acid. And then I'm like, oh, I mixed up way too much.
Like I still have a ton of dyes mixed up. Oh, those are with sugar. They're from Valentine's Day. Okay. Oh my gosh, the Caribbean blue goes really far. This is the other reason why we have a second yarn mop here, is if I end up with way too much of one color on my gloves, I can bring it on to the next one and then skip that color the next time. I think I knew that the Caribbean blue was really potent. I don't think I expected it to be more potent than these other colors. But it's been a while since I've done this on purpose. I think the last time I played with all these neon colors, I was trying to do something on purpose. But the color also that is ending up sticking to the pan the most is also the blue. I mean, some of the other colors as well, but that's one reason for the brief sort of steam set in the middle, just to allow me to get some of that color set before I add more, because otherwise things will start to transfer onto the pan and then they'll blend more. And we want some blend, but not too much. And it's also fun to put these in a steamer basket together, because over time you'll get like transfer between different skeins, and that is also really fun. But yeah, these end up being some of my favorite skeins, and depending on the colors that I'm using and how they layer, like I would not want to layer all these rainbow colors into nothingness, but sometimes there might be a combination that I will keep going and layer and layer and layer them until there's almost nothing left. Okay. I mean, I am getting really good coverage on them, so we may not need to add more. I just want to give myself the flexibility to do that. All right. Let's see. Let's finish this zebra skein, and then I'll take a little bit of a break and sit down and chat with all of you. Who am I going to bring out? Maybe your scroll. Okay. So we've already got plenty of blue. My hands are definitely damper this time. I'm going to bring in some of the purple pop. Now, purple pop is very pink still. And that's because if you add too much blue to a fluorescent pink, it's going to dull the fluorescence, which is a bit of a shame. So that is something that I learned from chatting with one of the dye chemists at Jacquard at one point, which, like, think about it, what a cool job it is to be like a dye chemist and have your job revolve around like mixing and developing colors for different lines. I mean, that would be so cool. I do have a chemistry background myself, but I don't know that much about the chemistry of all of these dyes. So, okay, if my gloves are a little bit wet, I am rubbing on the powder a little bit less. But then also that's when I might make the decision to go over to our second skein to rinse off the bulk of that dye, which also then brings more color. I don't think I've ever yarn mopped a yarn mop quite like this. I think that in the past, when I've done this, I might do like 2 at a time, but I haven't assembly lined it in quite the same way. And so I'm really enjoying, oh my gosh, there was a lot on my thumb. So I'm really enjoying how this is turning out. Okay, and I know that this is the mop of the mop, but even though that skein isn't done, I'm still going to pop her into that second steamer basket just because I can. If I'm going to take a break anyway, I may as well. Okay. Rinsing off my gloves. Okay, we're going to pop these dye containers into here. Okay, yes. Timer, we will remove that yarn in just a sec. I'm going to bring over skein, wipe up a little bit of powder on the counter. Okay. All right. What did I do, 10 minutes? And actually, I'm going to take this. This is our twill worsted. There was a hint of some dye left on the pan, which I don't think really wiped up. Okay, I set that timer for 10 minutes. I've lost one of the zip ties. We've got a lot of color in here right now. It's looking great, but I do need to let it cool, so that way we can do the second pass. Cool. And I know I started with just 200 grams of yarn here in the pan. There's no reason why it has to stay that low. I can increase it as I want. Okay. Oh, mask break. Okay. I'm gonna be all sweaty. There's a reason why a lot of times in videos, oh, I tilted that. There's a reason why, you can see how red I am. A lot of times in videos, I might spend a lot of time when I'm wearing the mask doing, excuse me, a time lapse and a voiceover. And the reason for that is that it's just harder to talk because like the breathing is a little harder. It's not impossible, but I find that I'll say a little bit and then take a deep breath, and then say a little bit and take a deep breath, and then I'm editing out a lot of these like I'm like, oh, I hate listening to myself do that. It's sometimes really hard to edit myself talking. Yes, Randy, the purple dye is Purple Pop. So the dye colors I'm using are Dharma Fluorescent Fuchsia, Fluorescent Safety Orange, Fluorescent Lemon, Caribbean Blue, Radioactive, and Purple Pop. Those are my colors. And so the other fluorescent acid dyes and other brands besides Dharma and Jacquard probably have some too. Jacquard's line would be Hot Fuchsia, Fluorescent Yellow, Fluorescent Red, Fluorescent Orange, Black Light Blue, and Chartreuse. Chartreuse is their fluorescent green.
They do not have a fluorescent purple. They have, their Vivid Violet does have fluorescent pink pigment in there, but there's enough blue to it that gives it a beautiful, like almost neon purple look, but you don't see the fluorescence because there's too much blue in there. And so something about the like relationship between the blue and the pinks, like it just, pinks just quench like the blue fluorescence, and a little bit vice versa. Well, the opposite way isn't quite as much of a quench, because the question was, why can't you make a better fluorescent purple using the same colorless fluorescent acid dye that they used in Black Light Blue? Black Light Blue. And the reason is that when you add pinks, even if the pinks aren't a fluorescent pink, it becomes like muddy and it just dims that fluorescence. And so that was just really interesting to me. But when you add more blue pigment to it, then you start to block out the ability to fluoresce, because you get like almost like a dark spot that you'll see a little bit with like radioactive and purple pop. The purple most and green most part of the speckles that you get will not glow as much as the spread of a color around it. And so that's pretty fun. But oh man, this week has been wild. Wild, I tell you. I've dyed, gosh, did I work on like 6 different videos? I filmed Dyepot PS, so, which is a color mixing video. And so that Dyepot PS episode will come out for patrons at the end of April, and it'll be public on YouTube at the end of May. So patrons get like a month early access to those videos. And then, but yeah, then I was working on filming a lot of lab partner videos. And so the Dyepot Weekly lab partner listings are currently sold out. I can go over here. So if I go to Dyepot Weekly lab partner, there's the last minute lab partner option. But I only will ever have a certain number of lab partner videos outstanding at any given time. And so then as I finish editing and ship off some of the yarn, then I will list another lab partner listing. And so if you're wanting to sign up to become a lab partner, where you get shout outs in an episode of Dyepot Weekly, you get to pick the yarn base that I'm gonna dye in that video, and you tell me what colors you don't like, so I'll avoid those when designing the project. If you're interested in signing up to do that, send me a message on Etsy and I can add you to the wait list. And what will happen is, as I release more slots, I will message the top of the wait list to let them know that that's now available. So I hope that helps. And there's a lot of people that will do lab partners as either like birthday gifts for people or birthday gifts for themselves. And so I can try to aim a video for a particular date, but if you're wanting something, reach out to me far in advance, so that way we can chat about that. Because if you want something in, right now in May, that probably can't happen. But if you want something in September, I could probably make that happen right now. And the last minute lab partners are similar. You get the shout outs, but instead, you pick from a video that I've already filmed, and then I'll film the shout outs in the end. So for tea, and some of these aren't available, but for tea, video hit immersion dyeing with immersion dyeing variegated yarns with liquid dyes. The color hint: brown, green, blue, and red. And there's 300 grams that I dyed in this colorway, so you could add on 2 skeins. And so, yeah, sometimes this is a way that I might have videos that I might have videos that I've been working on or that I filmed a long time ago, and for whatever reason haven't gotten around to editing it yet. And so that's a way to get something to jump the queue. And also a way to allow there to be more lab partner slots all at once. So that is an option as well. Oh, I lost the chat. Wait, 6 question mark? Oh, filming 6 videos this week? Yeah. I was on a roll because I did one of the SMSMS videos, and this afternoon I will be twisting the yarn from that. And then I did, yeah, I did this amazing, I really want to show my notebook. I really want to show my notebook, but I'm not going to because I don't want to spoilerize everything. But last Friday, I was like, okay, these are like the lab partner videos I need to film with the yarn bases and color requests. And I just like planned everything out down to the how much of each dye I need to mix and measure. And like, it was super, I was like so organized and on the ball. And so it's been a very creative week. And so that's been really, really fun. And then it was even down to yesterday when I was like, okay, should I stream making these neon rainbow yarn mops today, or should I put a bonus video? Ooh, you guys want to hear what some of my backup videos are? I can spoilerize that. Spoilerize, huh? Okay, studio. So I have a private playlist where I have unreleased videos, which I'm not going to show that. It's just called Need Scheduling. And let's see, I have some of these were videos that I filmed in a live stream, I think. Or some of them may have been like behind the scenes things that patrons have seen so far. Oh, I'm trying to take care of myself too. I'll talk more about my week in a moment. Let's see, I've got resist dyeing to over dye bright yellow commercial yarn. I've got over dyeing brown variegated yarn with, what is the rest of that title? With dip dyeing. Okay, I dip dye into 2 colors. And actually, I'll go remove this real quick. So what I tried to pick up the yarn in a way to show, but you can't really see. So oh, and I don't have that camera on right now. So when you layer the yarn in the steamer basket, there's going to be color transfer because the dyes aren't set yet, which adds another really fun element to this yarn. Okay, I'm letting that cool. I'm going to set myself a timer. I set myself another 10-minute timer, so that way I will go and get back to it. All right, so one of the other backup videos is over dyeing brown variegated yarn with dip dyeing. And then the other one, which is probably the one I would have posted, is collecting leftover dyes for 3 months. What color will it be? And so that's a leave no dye behind. Because I don't know if you are all aware, but starting at the first live stream of this year, I took like rinsing out cups and all of those leftovers and added it into one squeeze bottle. And so it's just like a mixture of a lot of different things, and I didn't know what the color would be. And so, yeah. So yeah, those are the ones that I can happily talk about and share. And ooh, this is coming up next week. Let's see if I can find the thumbnail. So I can share this. It's going to be in my download. Yes, it's still in my downloads. Yee! Haha, I was so excited about this one. So the video on Tuesday's video is going to be dyeing 5 colorways using the exact same amount of dye. And this was really fun to do. I did 5 different techniques, 2 different dip dyeing techniques, and 2 different tonal techniques. One where I mixed the colors together first, and then the second was the layered tonal. And it's really fun to do things like this because whenever I talk about depth of shade, which is referring to the number of grams of dye per grams of fiber, that doesn't always communicate like the total recipe and the technique. And so using the, I mean, I know it's obvious that using the same amount of dye in different ways and applying it in different ways can end up with different colorways. But I thought it would be fun to mathematically have like the exact same amount of dye measured from the same dye stocks to just show how different things could be. It's very Starburst. I was like, I need warm colors. Like, we need happy sunset colors. And so, yeah, it's fun. And then I even talk a little bit about, because for one of the dip dyed colorways, which you can kind of gather from like the little like paint sketch I have up there, one of them I dip dyed continuously. The other, I dipped a portion of the yarn in, let it sit, and then did the same thing to the other side. So you have a more harsh color transition. And the color in that overlap section is more saturated than the all over tonal. And so I can talk about that as well. And so that was a really fun video to put together. Expensive, because I dyed 10 skeins of yarn, but fun. And so, yeah, I think that I'd love to do a lot more side-by-sides. And one other idea that I've had with a similar thing is dyeing yarn using the exact same amount of dye, but some of it is liquid and some of it is powder. And so doing that comparison. And I think the way I would do this is with like a higher immersion situation. So I would have like the yarn in my catering steam pan with a higher volume of water to allow spread. And in one of them, I'll pour the dyes on, let that spread and strike. And then the other, in the same kind of way, I will sprinkle those dyes on and then wait and let things spread to then see the difference there. And obviously, there will be differences, but I don't know. I just thought that that would be interesting. Or maybe I'll see, okay, there's a lot of powder left in here. I added some here. I don't know if I want to add all of it. And so I'll have to be very careful with those proportions. But that's another thing that I've been thinking about trying to do. And have more comparisons like that. But one of the things I'm very excited about is to do, and I debated for SMSMS, I debated doing all the sock blanks in one video and having this focus there, but I think it makes sense to show the sock blanks in the same video where I dyed the mini skein sets, and so I think I like that better. But I think after I filmed everything as a bonus video that may not come out at the same time as SMSMS, but eventually I think I do want to do a video titled like dyeing mini skeins versus sock blanks when you might choose to do one versus the other, and bringing footage from those other videos in to help me make those points. Because yeah, I mean, there are like many ways when, I don't know, like in talking about, it's similar to like thinking about using self-striping yarn versus making your own stripes, right? So if you wanted to dye like a striped sock, you could have 3 colors and alternate between them and control exactly where those color transitions happen. But you'd have more ends to weave in, or you'd carry yarn down like the back of the foot or something. If you have self-striping yarn, the color transitions will happen at regular intervals, but you don't have as much control over where those happen. And so in places of the sock where the number of stitches you have change, like as you go into the gusset, or maybe you go to the heel flap, the stripe sizes will then change because you're going to have more or fewer stitches in those given areas. Whereas if you're switching colors with separate skeins, you can still have those stripes be the same size. And so you get those, it's all about control versus like convenience. And I mean, self-striping can be fun. And so, I mean, the big reason for everything is that it's fun to try and play with different things. But yeah, I guess like artistically, if you have a particular goal for a finished project, why might you pick one versus the other? And we'll see if I can do that without being insanely verbose. because I can keep talking forever. And one thing I've realized as I work on more like shorts and then I do my best to check because like when I'm editing them, I'll add the like text on, the captions on, because like different sites, like if they try to automate the closed captions, I don't want to have to try to do that manually for like 4 different platforms. But sometimes I do have a mistake that slips through, but I realize I talk in run-on sentences and like it never stops. So if I write myself out a bit of a script before filming a voiceover for a short, then like I will have more breaks and like more pauses in what I'm saying. But a lot of the times I'll have an idea of what I want to say, and I'll just talk for a minute and a half and then use that, and you know, and then I'm like, oh, look at all these parentheticals I have, all these ellipses. So, oh. Okay, a comment says, I love the subtle differences that you show because I'm a very visual learner. It helps understand how everything you do is important to the final look. Thank you, Kenyatta, for joining. Have a great day. Yeah, I think that showing like the subtle differences can be really helpful, especially because I found that sometimes lately, since I have hundreds, probably thousands of videos here, I might then leave something out of a video because I have an assumption that, okay, if everyone's watched every video, they don't want like all this same thing over and over. But I'm like, okay, how can I do this in a different way and highlight comparisons? And so I do have, I've had plans for a long time to do dyeing 101 videos. I actually even have things filmed. I just need to like put them together, and I've been holding off because of something else, and it's time. It's just time. Sometimes I just have to be patient when I'm waiting on other people. Oh man. Oh, but I was talking about my week. My week was wild. We went to the Red Sox game on Tuesday, which was so much fun. Really cold, really, really cold. But we ended up on the Jumbotron, probably because since it had rained that morning and it was really cold, a lot of people didn't show up. So by the end of the game, like our section, like we even, like in the whole like section that we were in at Fenway, like at the end our group was only there, so we moved up to the front of the section because like there was no one there. And so then we got on the Jumbotron, which was awesome. Oh. All right. Slowly I'll get back to the dyeing part. Oh man. Thank you for letting me have my break. Oh. No, we can do it this way. Okay. We're going to go over there. This guy clearly needs more color. And these may not end up needing more color. Okay, here's that first zebra. I don't want to tangle it. Okay, they're still quite warm, but I'm curious. Not a lot of transfer. That's good. So I'll be looking these two over to decide if I think they need more color, which they may not. They may not, and that could be totally fine. I mean, this is looking really, really good. I see green. This one has actually really good coverage. What about you? Am I seeing all the colors? I mean, I'm pretty happy with that one too. Let me bring the black light back over. Because see, sometimes when you heat set, colors spread, and so I feel like at first I was like, oh, I totally want more color on them. But now looking at them, I'm like, oh, those two I'm happy with. So, oh, the neps. What's funny is that the neps are glowing more than some of the other colors because the pinks are lighter anyway, and I have natural light on in here. Oh, I was so curious how it was going to look on the neon neps. That is so pretty. So pretty. Okay. These two skeins, I think, are good. I'm going to go steam set these for 30 minutes. Mainly because they now touch the pan again. All right, here is our sparkle friend, who I think I want a hair more green, a hair more in like this area right there. And I'm trying to see if I can show off some of the spots. Okay, so there's some areas on here that are almost like speckles. Excuse me. And some of those speckles come, this one I think I want a hair more purple. Some of those little speckles come from the yarn touching itself and its neighbors and laying on top of itself, which I think is really, really cool. And so before we do that, here is our other zebra, who I do think I'm going to want a little bit more color on there. So I'll set that aside. But before I go and put my mask back on, I am going to remove the other yarn from the pre-soak. Okay, and yeah, things are going really smoothly. This may not be that long of a stream. I think my plan was to dye 12, unless more orders end up coming through, and then I might dye some more. I think I have my phone on silent too. Hee hee. Wait, apps. Oh, I don't want that. I'm like, there's a new section. Oh, I do have some yarn I need to ship out today, and I am so excited. Someone bought the emoji sock blank. That video will come out either the end of this month or in May. All right, I did not start a timer yet because I'm going to finish these two skeins and put them in the same basket. And I think I do want to dye more than all this. Well, we'll see where we are when I finish what I've pre-soaked already. The good news is that for this type of colorway, a long pre-soak is not needed because it's okay for whites to end up behind, you know? Okay. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you think it's fun. I'm having a blast. And I even filmed some stuff for the vlog. Where is, oh, I'll take one more drink. Ah, Max. I left my glasses somewhere. On the floor by the computer. Okay, mask on. Whew. Okay. Now, you know, I'm not going to be able to put each dye back in the right spot, so I might have to shift those around. I'm going to guess red. I think that's orange. I think that's yellow. That's got to be blue. This one is absolutely green. Purple. All right. So
what did I say? On you, I wanted a little bit, I think a little bit of something. Let's do a little bit of some green. And a little bit of some purple. Otherwise, what do we think? You know, we could do a little more blue. I think we're pretty good. Well, let's do a little more yellow. I could keep doing this for a really long time. Do a tiny bit more. Right there. All right. Sparkle into the pot. Cool. And this one will go in that same pot. What did I feel like I wanted? A little more orange. Maybe, no, there's good orange. Maybe a hint more yellow, maybe. Let's do it. Let's do a little bit more yellow. And yeah, it's got some blues coming on my hands. All right. Not bad. We may not need a second pass for everything. We might be able to shift into a single pass since things are looking pretty good. All right, I set a timer for 30 minutes for those 4 skeins. And we'll carry on, but we can always decide that we want more. Okay, so this has bits of color on it already. Because I use it to help me with other things, but I'm now very much going into the, all right, I'm using my damp hands to grab the color, and oh gosh, with the blue. See, now I'm not going to need to use blue on this one. Oh my gosh. This is why then sometimes I might do the double steam, but oh man. If the colors are spreading, then that just helps. Okay, we've got the purple, we've got the blue. Let's grab some green. I feel like the color that I have too much of is the blue. Caribbean blue, you are a menace. You are an absolute menace here. I will say radioactive plus Caribbean blue is really nice. This has so much blue on it right now. Part of me was like, I want to go put it in a steamer basket. It is stressing me out. Orange. Oh man, gosh, Jacquard's orange just is a little bit less, maybe it doesn't break in quite the same way. I don't know, there's something about it, it's just a bit different. I want more yellow. I don't know if I'd skipped the yellow before. It's funny because the yellow can look quite orange at first, but I think does shift nicely once heat set. All right. How are we doing? Let's do a hair more purple. All right, we got all the colors, and sometimes they can be very heavy, sometimes less so. But the concern that I end up with is that at some point when you layer the colors, you definitely start to risk things shifting brown. And so that's why you have to consider like less is more. You could do something, if you're doing this without sparkle, you could do this in a way where you end up with you could mix it with citric acid so you dilute things more so things are less intense as you're adding it on. You always have those choices. I was a little afraid the neon neps were going to be too, I was afraid the neon neps were going to be a little bit too much. But I think that they, like, are really, really fun with this. Now, the neon neps base is also available in the mystery colorway, which I will not be dyeing in a live stream. I know that's a bummer. It's really fun to do like this mass production on stream. And I love being able to be this artistic. But it's funny, adding the yellow on, it almost doesn't show up on this. I mean, it does, but the base of that is yellow-ish to start with. So it's funny, the twill worsted is one of my personal favorite yarn bases. I am obsessed, absolutely obsessed with it, and it is not one of my best sellers. But I adore it. And I think maybe people are intimidated because it doesn't have a lot of yardage, but it really does work so well. For a hat, there's plenty for like an adult hat, even though the yardage is, forget if it's in like the 140s or something. And it's super comfy too. But here we are with this one. And it's funny because something like this random may not be everyone's cup of tea. But for me, these bases, they always sell whenever I have them in the shop. And so, therefore, I'm like, you know what? Let's bring something in. Oh, I forgot about this one. Let's bring something in. Okay, yes, you needed more purple for sure. What else did you need? You actually needed more blue. I barely see any blue right now. That is much better. Let's also give you a tiny bit more yellow. Cool. I love the zebra base. All right. Whew. Okay, if I'm going to go grab more yarn, which I might do in a moment, do you have any particular requests? And again, it doesn't have to be one that you want to buy, but I could grab like whatever random other yarn bases that I have, because I have a lot upstairs. Oh, I didn't grab a second yet. Starting at the front of the rainbow again. Oh, yay! Thank you, someone! I thought I had the phone off, but I didn't. Oh, man. Yeah, so my second steamer basket is almost full, which is a good time to take another little break. And I'm definitely not keeping track of the single process versus double dyed colors. I know I have one, I know which bin is 100% of the ones that have been dyed twice. And I'm just going to look over each one carefully as I remove it, because if I want more color, we can add more color. All right, my hand is very wet. It's very warm toned right now. But in some ways, we are almost getting 2 rounds of a lot of the colors with the secondary mop. On the side. All right, green. We'll have to go back into those dye containers eventually. I don't know if like radioactive is just less pigmented than the other colors or what. I mean, it's no Caribbean blue. Okay. All right, blue. Oh my gosh, I have so much of you on my fingers. I think I want to do one of the multi-neps yarns at some point. Okay, I've got 2 ideas for it. It would be fun to do a neon yarn mop on it. One that is just the warm tones. So just maybe like the pink, purple, yellow, and orange. Maybe green. Everything without the blue. To sort of complement those neps a little bit. You can see I have so much blue on here. Oh my goodness. Okay. I need purple still, right? But yeah, looking at it before the blue, I'm like, oh, it would be really, really fun to do it that way. All right. I feel like I still want a little bit. We have some yellow, but we'll add like a little bit more right there. You're looking great. Okay. That pan is pretty full. This skein on top is not done. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop it in for 10 minutes. Do I have a 10-minute timer? No. Okay. For 10 minutes, and I'm going to prep for another break. We're going to put these guys aside. So much Caribbean blue. Actually, we have a fair amount of all of the colors, but I can also save these for another day. So that is good. Okay. Whew. Okay, and the other thing I'm going to do is set my second 30-minute timer. So that is also ready to go. Because then I can remove that one skein I know I want more dye on after it's had a little bit of heat, so that way I won't push that blue around too much more. Whew. Oh man, my mask is so sweaty. I might have to swap to like an N95. I have a very well-fitting one with like a rubber edge. In general, the respirator mask is more comfortable, but all right. Come over in front. Hello. Oh, I can delete that now. Oh man, okay. Hee. Oh, thank you people who placed orders. Thank you. Oh, awesome. Okay, so I think I will grab a little bit more yarn. Excuse me. I would say that those of you who just placed pre-orders, those yarns are ones that I've already pre-soaked and dyed, but I'm going to add more of both of those bases.
And I'm going to go grab those now to go ahead and pre-soak. So actually, this is a great time for a commercial break. So I will insert one. You may not see an ad, but please, yeah, I guess please stand by, hang out through that, and I will see you in a moment. Cool, I'll be right back. Let's see. All right. All right, we've got one more. Oh, goody. I see an ad on my monitor. We've got one more zebra and one more sparkle. And these are going to go straight into the pre-soak with acid this time. Thank you all for hanging out. And thank you for shopping with ChemKnits Creations. All right. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. Checking all of my timers. Okay, and I can come back here because there was an interesting comments. Let's see. Oh, well, thanks for hanging out. Yes, I think that the commenter just had to go to a meeting, but in Procyon dyes, anything with turquoise bleeds. And yes, actually we can go shop. Here we go. Okay, so Dharma's, I don't know why it's showing up this way, but they're fiber reactive Procyon dyes. Yes, am I on the ice dyeing page? Oh no, they have the ice dyes here too. And they mark with a T anything with turquoise in it because that's going to be a bleeder. Now, I think that the turquoise fiber reactive dye is likely a different pigment from what's in Caribbean blue, but obviously, like, I can't, like, guarantee that. Now, there is a color from, thank you, there is a color from Dharma in the acid dye line called True Turquoise, which I think has some direct dye in it. It's not just acid dye, but I don't know for sure. Yeah, meetings are rough. Let's see. Don't worry, Jacqueline. I still am going to be doing a lot more of the same colorway, so you didn't miss too much. Oh, you wish you could have just woken up because your manager's on the East Coast. Oh, I didn't read that all that carefully. Oh, man. Oh, man. And let's see. Ooh, another DK. I can grab another one of those in just a moment. And I'm like, okay, the text was not important. That's good. Sometimes, like, things come through and you're like, please let it not be the teacher of my kid's school, because, listen, I'm not a parent who goes and, like, tries to get teacher's phone number to text complaints. But my kids' teachers happen to have my phone number, and sometimes they will text me things. mainly the art teacher. Actually, this is really cute. So I'm walking home with the kids yesterday, and they do an after-school program with their art teacher. So it's like a bonus art class. It's like an open studio. And the whole system is good because the art teacher gets paid, but also it's a fundraiser for the PTO. And so it's like this whole like win-win situation. But my kids were like, oh, you know, there's like an art show coming up at the end of the year, and my eldest is in 5th grade. And I was like, you know, you can still come back to the art show after you've graduated. And my Ryder's only in 3rd grade, and he's like, me too? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. He's like, oh, I should get the art teacher's phone number so we can be internet friends. Like. And I'm like, that's not how phone numbers work. And no, I'm not giving you the phone number of your art teacher because she doesn't need you. I mean, A, you have no way to text unless you're using my phone, but B, that's not how these things work. But I thought it was so adorable. And actually, that is something I should text her because she would appreciate. But yeah. It's wonderful that they love her so much. And she actually is really good at keeping up with alumni. Yeah, she's awesome. And I've told this story, but she's like one of the first people who called me an artist in a way that I didn't call myself an artist. I would say, oh, I'm a knitter. Oh, I'm a blogger. Oh, I'm an indie dyer. But now if it's someone who really doesn't know what's going on and like isn't like at a yarn, I'm talking with people I know are yarn people, I'll say I'm an indie dyer. But otherwise in general, I just call myself an artist, and that's really fun. Yeah, the innocence of kids. Okay, I am going to go grab that yarn of Swish DK. Hee. When your cousin was 6 years old, he told his parent, he got into his parents' email, sent his 1st grade teacher a message saying, everything you're teaching me, I know already. Oh my gosh. My kids have said that to their teachers before. But, oh goody. Okay. Cool. It's like this timer. Okay, I'm removing the one skein that was not all the way done to cool. Okay, and I'm going to grab that other skein of yarn. All right. Okay. Cool. We still have some more time to hang out. And I'll put my face back up. Hello. But yeah, art is fun. And oh gosh, what else is going on this week? Well, it's Passover. And so I am unprepared. I am unprepared for Pesach. I'm unprepared with all of the bread still everywhere. Now, I don't make my kitchen perfectly kosher for Passover. I don't keep kosher in the general sense anyway, but I do observe Passover. But my husband does it. And so therefore he can eat the tortillas and the bread and have regular cereal or whatever, but the kids and I keep Passover. Oh man, and so, I mean, I'm just laughing because I'm like, oh, but I do try to like move things a little bit out of sight. Like I don't, yeah, I'll try to reorganize the fridge so that way it's less easy for the kids to grab something that they're quote not supposed to eat. Although if they did make a mistake, like, so be it. It's fun. It's a fun thing to do together. And Keith enjoys like the Passover meals and stuff I prepare. It's just he's not gonna touch the matzah unless it's near the end, and I'm like, okay, we're not gonna run out. You can have as much matzah pizza as you want. Oh. You had to call the vice principal because your kid told him, oh no. He told the vice principal that he was dumb. Oh gosh. Yeah. Oh, kids. Kids are amazing. Oh my gosh, it's already almost 11:30. Awesome. All right, so more pre-orders, I would say from this part forward. I'm going to dye everything that I have pre-soaked. If there are additional pre-orders, again, I've been dyeing extra, so it has probably dyed in this stream, but in the off chance that it wasn't, I will be dyeing more of the yarn, so don't worry. I listed, for some pre-orders, I list based on like the inventory of the yarn bases I have, not expecting I'm going to dye that many of it, but that way it's enough available, because I don't like to create false senses of urgency with like limiting things more than I need to or anything. Sometimes I do make things that are limited, but yeah, like for example, I think in the shop, one thing that is limited, and I guess you can see that 4 people have it in their cart, there are no intact blanks left. Wait, that's not the one it's supposed to do. Well, that's goofy if that's what it did. Oh no! Oh no! It was not supposed to link that way. It totally linked it backwards. Oh no! Let's see. Select photo. That was supposed to be that photo. Select photo. That was supposed to be that photo. Whoops! Oh no! Okay, now that's the right one. 250. I can't believe I flipped those the way I did. Oh man. Thankfully, like the description of this, yes, 250 gram skeins and no intact blank, like that is very, very clear. But oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. When I dye enough of a blank so I can do a picture like this, it makes me so happy to show like the blank with the yarn twisted, with the yarn still on the nitty knotty. But in general, it's funny because I think that I had a commenter being like, oh, you've done a lot of market research on this, have you? Like in general, I find that my customers prefer intact blanks to them being unraveled already. Now, this is not a hard and fast rule, and I'm always happy and I always have the option for me to unravel the blank for you. But blanks that are intact for me sell better than the ones that are already unraveled. With the one exception being when I can have a picture like this, because I had both available, then like, yeah, I don't think that this yarn will have trouble selling eventually. But yeah, I'd say that the yarn that I have in my shop that are not blanks, because those will be in multiple skein sets, like those tend to stick around in the shop a little bit longer. Oh, because this one I had to do it oddly because of the way, because I had more unraveled than not, and so I had to figure out how to do the listing. But my emoji blank sold. I went to show. I'm so excited for this video. I'm just like I had to and I just started painting, and I am like so unbelievably happy with how this ended up coming together. I think that it is so fun. And those are my 3, actually I guess my 7 favorite emojis. I use the laughing, crying, star eyes, heart eyes the most, and then various color of just hearts. That's what I use the most often. But when does this video come out? Is it going to tell me? Or is it to be... okay, fine, May 9th is when this will come out. So, after a little while. But that was one that I packed up, and I'm like, my kids wanted to just like frame it, and I'm like, well, if you want me to like draw emojis, like, we could draw that. Let's see. Your mom wants a scarf in variegated gray with red speckles. You think you'll dye a black skein as well and do a brioche scarf? Ooh, that would be really, really pretty. That would be really, really pretty. Red and gray is a really nice color combination. I'm like, I don't know if I've done as much of that recently. Actually, and I've told this before, like while we're playing around with my shop, as I'm waiting for the timer. Sometimes the way I decide on the colors to dye will be, I'll go to a section and look, and I'll be like, okay, like I've got red, pink, a lot of purples, some blue, but oh, gee, maybe not a lot of yellow. Maybe this means I need to dye some more yellow because there's not yellow left. I mean, I guess there's a tiny bit. But so then I'll be like, oh, okay, I will dye more yellow in a DK weight yarn. Or similarly, I might do, it's funny because when I have, yellow is often listed as people's least favorite color, but when I have yellow yarn, it doesn't always stay in the shop that long. I see a lot of greens right now, and then I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I need, I mean, I've got some blues, but maybe I need some more blues in here as well. And so then I will sometimes design videos based on the shop inventory, and then other times I'll look at the video thumbnails that I have coming up and decide from that too. Oh, I want that. Because we'll get back to it. But we've got some finished yarn now. Woo! Hot. Oh, I'm going to have a lot of yarn washing to do later. Shoot, I really wanted, maybe I'll have to do it on Sunday. I really wanted to do the twisted minis this afternoon, but I have a feeling I'm going to be washing yarn. We're all steamy, but very beautiful. And what's super fun about these is each skein tends to have its own like character to it. Because some of them will read a little bit more pink, some may read more blue. Some more orange, and that's just fun. These ones are a little bit hotter, but I'll still show. Yay! And I feel like a lot of these are more pigmented than what I often will get, because when I'm picking up dye, I'm not wiping off as much onto some kind of surface, you know? Oh no. Why did I put you there? That's not what I wanted to do. Well, one of them's going back in the steamer basket. Oh wait, no, it doesn't need to. The other one was still steamed. Okay. We're fine. We're fine. I put one on the wrong pan, but it's okay. Wait, I'm now really confused. Because there was one I wanted to remove because I put in but wasn't done, but I now can't figure out which one it was. look good. I thought it was this one. But like, this one looks like there's so much color. Like, I see all the colors, so I don't need to add more dye to this one. I thought there was one that was like just almost like a bunch of blue, but I don't remember what yarn base that was. But shoot, was that the one that only had 10 minutes? Well, fine. I'll put both of those back in the steamer basket. I mean, they're both looking good to me. But now, I'm super confused. It's possible that what happened is we got some color transfer in the steamer basket, and so then that sort of finished off what I felt was needed. But that was a really weird deja vu kind of situation. Because I was like, I mean, I was checking them as I was removing them, but I don't know what was going on. Oh, I figured it out. This was the one with a bunch of blue. I think. It doesn't have as much other colors. It was mostly done, but not completely. And I put some of those on top of that. Maybe. Oh man, okay. I think I figured it out. Now, it's not going to harm anything to steam set for longer, but because I now don't know, and like 30 minutes isn't a hard and fast rule, but it definitely helps. So I'm popping those back in for 15 minutes. But the good news is that my other dye bath is 5 minutes from being done. And so I think that this is the one that had a lot of blue, but not a lot of else. Okay, I'm getting there. All right, I am going to take a very quick break. And so I'll put up like a little, like, please stand by screen. I will be back really shortly. I'm back. All right, let's see. There are a bunch of comments. I'm not a fan of bright brown and baby pink uniform colors of primary school. Yellow was your favorite. Yeah, poor yellow. So when I ask people for what colors to avoid, usually the colors that most frequently come up as colors to avoid are yellow, orange, and green. Occasionally, there'll be other requests, or like someone might say, oh, I don't like pastels, or someone might say, I don't like yellow unless it's a rainbow, and so I try to take that into consideration. Yellow's not grumpy. See, it's funny, I never pick yellow in terms of clothing or anything for myself, although I do love a good neon yellow swim shirt for the kids. Those are my favorite. But yeah. Oh man. Okay, I got a bunch of lemons that had seeds. So I'm drinking Coke Zero with lemon in it, but I keep pulling up through the straw lemon seeds. 'Cause I'm like, no, I just cut the lemon and squeeze it in, and then sometimes the seeds come out. I was not in favor of these giant cups until Keith gave me one, and then it really became my favorite because it keeps, like, it maintains the temperature so well, and it keeps water cold in the hot car, so if we go and are running errands, like, the water in here will still be cold. It's a Yeti, not sponsored or anything. But so I just got one in a second color, so then I'm like, okay, then I can have one with water, one with soda, so that way if I'm thirsty, maybe I'll drink the water. And not finish, like, I mean, I don't always fill it, like, all the way up with soda, but not finish the soda. Yeah, I'm, like, really exposing myself right now. Oh, man. But I'm like, okay, I like my, what is it? There's, like, some really funny SNL sketch about the, like, massive cups. The other thing that worked is when I was doing working on the community mosaic that one time, the art room where we were was unair conditioned and so hot. And I started with just ice water, and there was still, at the end of like 15 hours, I think I was there 15 hours that day, from like 10 a.m. till like midnight, or 9 a.m. till midnight, I forget. There was still ice in it at the end of the day. And so, and I'd refilled it multiple times with water, so that was really cool. Oh, oh, that's good to hear. I'm glad that Yeti supports DEI, which was one thing I didn't know about the company. I knew that Dick's Sporting Goods does, and so that's where I bought the new one. But yeah, there are. I will admit that I don't talk about politics stuff much over here. And oh. Okay, I don't talk about politics stuff very much over here, but I am very liberal, I will say. Well, I've been very nervous as an artist, as a small business whose materials come from outside the U.S. Like, most of the yarn I dye comes from mills in Peru. Come on, there we go. Oh no, don't start the next timer. No. Okay. And so I was just like, oh my gosh, like, how much are the price of yarn to go up is gonna go up? And I've been talking for years, like, at some point I'm gonna need to raise prices on yarn. Since I opened up my shop, I think in 2018, was it? I have raised prices on yarn once, and that was a couple years after. And then I've been able to hold off, and I sort of like absorbed the rising costs of yarn just into it because, you know, I also do get some YouTube revenue and things, but like YouTube alone does not cover all of the yarn that I buy to have materials on this channel. So like the biggest source of revenue is my Etsy shop. And so I was very nervous, but Wool to Die For sent down an email, and let me see. Which made me really happy. I don't know what like Knitpicks would do. I'm like very nervous. Oh wait, 11 new bases? Sorry, I got distracted. Neo fluff figurine. Wait, merino, alpaca, neon neps, and linen. Wait. Wait. There's a linen yak merino blend. Ooh, a camel. Okay, wait. That is another time. That was not the email I was looking for. The Will to Die For sent out a tariff update. And I know things have been paused, but the current increase, I think, for Peru was about 10%. And they said that they're going to absorb that increase. Probably because everything is volatile and we don't know what's going to happen or how long things are going to increase. But as a small business that depends on yarn suppliers elsewhere, I was grateful and thankful that they communicated with their customers this very clearly, which, like, this isn't something that I've spoken up about and what I'm going to do, but I'm also not a middle supplier for other businesses. Like, I suppose that someone could buy my yarn and knit something and sell it. Like, people can do that. But ultimately, my products are going to the end user versus someone like, you know, Dharma Trading Company, who is, you know, sells the dyes or the materials to make the yarn that I need. And so it was like, and I don't know if they're there's like an indie dyer business owner Facebook group, because people there were all feeling really, really nervous and anxious. And there have been a lot of like really nice stories from Canadian dyers who probably have a ton of customers in the US, and the people in the US are still buying things and supporting. And so there's been a lot of like hope, but also a lot of stress, because a 10% increase in materials is significant. And like, that's significant when it comes to the small margins that dyers may get on their yarn, especially if they wholesale to yarn shops. Like if people who wholesale their yarn to local yarn stores, they may have like oftentimes they want like a 50-50 split. So you would sell the yarn to the local yarn store for 50% of what they will then sell it to a customer for. And that is something I cannot afford to do. My margins are not good enough that I would, and my volume is so low that I would not make a profit. And so, you know, then you have a 10% increase in the cost of yarn, then that just throws everything else out of whack. And so, yes, I'm talking about this mainly because of how it impacts like my life and business. And so it was really good to hear that one of my biggest suppliers has said they're not going to raise prices. And Will to Die For, they raised prices a few years ago. They raised it like $1 per 10 pack of yarn, which is tiny. That's like 10 cents a skein. That is like a tiny percentage that they raise their prices, which maybe this means their margins are good, but maybe they are saying, hey, don't panic buy yarn right now. Don't hoard the bare yarn. Keep up with like what we're doing. But I think that if there's gonna be tariffs long term, then maybe they would make a change. But for now, they're gonna absorb it. And, you know, I imagine if there are gonna be tariffs that are gonna be 50% on things from Peru, they would probably make a change. Like, I wouldn't expect them to absorb something like that, but it is very kind of them. And so, and I don't know anything about the affiliation of the individuals behind the company, but yeah, that made me happy. Yeah, it was very generous of them to, whether they or not they knew how, and I'll come and start back up again, but whether or not they knew how stressed people were, it was just really, really nice of them to be so transparent with their base. And like, if when I ever need to increase prices, I try to be transparent about that as well. And the closest I came at one point was when Knitpicks had raised prices again, but then they had their wholesale accounts. And if Knitpicks wholesale accounts still exist, can someone let me know? Because I lost access to my Knitpicks wholesale account. Oh, but right here, you can kind of see the way some of the color transfer may happen when you lay things on top of each other. I don't know how much you can see. But I think part of the reason why I lost access to my wholesale account was because my wholesale account was under my business email. And they sent me some, last fall, Knitpicks sent me some things for free, which was really kind of them. Well, one of them was for something I can't talk about. They sent me a bunch of stuff. But because they used that email and made a purchase order, I think it transferred my account back to retail, unless they got rid of the wholesale side completely. Yeah, wool to dye for has usually been pretty transparent. I think that, well, I did hear something once. Which I don't want to spread rumors, but yeah, I think that they're one of the big players in the industry. And like, I know of, well, there used to be a bare yarn company that was trying to make money by selling volume and selling things less expensive than a lot of other companies. And that ultimately led to their downfall because they had basically no margin. Because they were trying to get business by being the cheapest. And that did not work out for them, which was sad.
Okay. We are getting back to it. Oh, okay. Wait, I can remove this for a little longer.
Because that other timer's going off. All right, and we're going to have empty steamer baskets, which is always awesome. Because I reset these ones because I had, yeah. I just don't want anything to bleed when I wash it. Now, neon colors and Caribbean blue can be bleeders. So how do I deal with that? If I'm concerned that a color is going to bleed and I don't want back staining, when I go to wash the yarn, I will add soap into the dye bath before I add yarn in. And that often will help. Okay, I'm going to remove our last skeins from the pre-soak. And we are gonna assembly line, and I have enough space for all of this yarn to be in different dye baskets, and so we are good. Okay, now I'm gonna need a mask on. You have a huge stash of bare yarn. Ooh, I don't know what the Eco Sock is. I don't know if I know that base. I definitely have not tried
everything with wool to dye for. Nor have I ever said, hey, you want to give me some free samples? Most of the bare yarn companies that have sent me things for free have reached out to me first and offered to send something. I normally don't cold call companies and ask for presents. I did, let's see, I reached out to Woobles and tried to sign up for their program because I wanted to try it but not pay for it. And I never heard back from them. Because I had so much fun doing the Lion brand kit, but they sent that to me for free. And then I did reach out to Knitpicks and I asked for the wool tincture dyes. I was like, hey, do you want to give me some of these so I can review them? And they said no, probably because they can't send free samples of things that they're like a wholesaler for, which is completely legitimate. But I was proud of myself for just asking. Knitpicks has offered me, like in the past, I reached out when for a while they did like a yarn subscription, and I did reach out and ask them for a sample of that. So that way I could review it, because at the time I was doing a lot of unboxings, and so yeah, I asked. And that was another one I was very proud of myself for asking instead of paying for it myself, because I wanted to review it. But then, I mean, they stopped releasing it, and I gave them feedback. I mean, at the time I didn't have some of the context I have now, but I was like, listen, you should be including like a new colorway in it, not old colorways. Because people, like, I was like, I own most of the stuff that was in the kit already, like the needles and other notions, so I didn't need it. But what did they send me? Oh, their marketing manager last year, they sent me, and I had so much fun. It's funny, sponsored reels don't do well. Probably because the platforms don't share them with people, because, and like for reasons, like people don't want to see ads. But I had so much fun making a reel so I think I'm going to make a swatch for a video or something anyway. And so I used them for that. But they sent me like some of their interchangeable needles, which are my favorite needles. So that was a really easy one for me to say yes to. And then before the big sale, they sent me all the freebies that they were going to be offering that year. And so then I had to go through okay, well, since they already gave me freebies, is it ethical for me when I place an order to get more freebies? And I did. And I have notions and things. I have like a collection of notions and things that I have not used that I might use for a giveaway or something at one point. So, but a lot of the notions that I get in freebies I do use for various things. Or sometimes I give them away for friends and like care packages and stuff too. Like my sister-in-law knits. And so that's fun. But and they also Knitpicks did pay me for the needles review. They both gave me the needles and the needle clutch, and they sent me a gift card, which was really nice. Thanks for joining. The Ego Sock is the new yarn bases. Oh, awesome. Right, and so yeah, a lot of times I'm always happy to try out new yarn bases, but I have a problem in that I have so many random bases in my collection that unfortunately don't always sell well. And so I have a problem where like if something's on sale then I want to get it and use it. And that's not always the best decision, so I'm trying to be more intentional with the yarn bases that I purchase. I have not been paying too close attention to all the colors I'm using. But yeah, so I'm trying to be more intentional and more, I guess, focused with the yarn that I buy. because also I have a space problem. When we moved into this house and we made a room to be my office, I didn't know I was going to start a yarn business. And so this room, which I've showed off before, is basically a hallway. Oh, this is so pretty. It's basically a hallway with, like one side is all closets, which is incredible, but it means that I just have limited space for everything, and so, so pretty. Yeah, one side of the room is all closets, but it's now, the room is just full of boxes. Boxes full of yarn. And the most organized part of it is my shop inventory. The way I keep track of all of that is by, I keep track of all the shop inventory by having, the sock yarn is sorted a little bit by color. I think I have 3 boxes of sock yarn right now. 1 box of miscellaneous yarn bases where, like, that's where most silk blends and stuff will end up. I have, I want a tiny bit more blue. I have 2 boxes of DK. I have, how many boxes do I have? Oh, I have a box of worsted weight yarn, a box of like mini skein sets and sock blanks. Cotton goes with the, and bulkies are in 1 box. These are all these huge, like, clear boxes and stuff. What else do I have? I think those are most of them. And then I have some of those bins of bare yarn, and then I have yarn in plastic bags, and more IKEA storage bags, and yeah. So it's hard because I love buying bare yarn, but I'm trying to work through more of what I have. But then it's hard because a lot of times I'll pick the yarn to dye for videos also based on what sells. And so it's a conflict between wanting to make fun videos and wanting to fix and create more inventory for my shop. Oh, I could show this off now. Okay, the transfer. So here is a bare section. I'm going to take this yarn on, pat it down, and see there's some little bits of color transfer there? That's what I'm referring to. All right. I think that steamer basket is full now. Whew. Okay, bringing in another sparkle skein. If you're just tuning in and are interested in some of these neon rainbow yarn mops, the pinned comment has a link to the pre-order. And I will be dyeing more at some point because I haven't reduced the pre-order. Oh no. I've not reduced the pre-order to just the yarn I dyed today. Let's see. Oh gosh, I have an IKEA Kallax 5x5 full of yarn. I have a 4x4 that is not full of yarn. The 4x4, goodness. The 4x4 has some yarn, like I keep roving there, but the 4x4 is mostly, it's also where I have like all my knitting books, all my archives of, I used to have a subscription to Vogue Knitting magazine, because that was something I used to put on my Christmas list for my in-laws, who I adore. It's just sometimes really hard to come up with things for the Christmas list. But they actually bought me my spinning wheel for my 29th birthday. But I think Keith helped them with that. Let's see. They actually bought me this really cool painting. It's like of yarn and scissors, made by a student at BU. So that was super kind of them. But yeah, I find it hard to figure out what to put on wish lists. I don't know if that's just me or if any of you guys deal with that as well. Okay, the one thing I'm trying with the blue is I don't want to layer the blue on the orange as much as I can. But you can see the blue just spreads so much. And that's why having this secondary mop is so helpful. Okay, I do have some green on here. I want a little bit more. That didn't really pick up any color. All right, and I need purple. My hand is very wet now. It's like you can see how the like randomness and everything changes as time goes on. You can get a little more orange in here. A little more yellow. And then the tiniest amount of blue that I can get. Oh, so fun. Okay. Did I already set a timer? No, I did not. We are coming down. So wait, we've got 1, 2, just 4 skeins left. We are going to timer for the small pot. Oh my goodness. It's funny, filming conclusions for a mini skein mini series video is so labor intensive. Just because there's a lot of, this one's pretty good already. There's a whole lot of sorting, sorting the mini skeins, twisting them, which like, this isn't me saying that it's bad. None of it is bad. It just takes a lot of time. And usually it's very exhausting. And so therefore, I can't believe I thought I was going to do the same thing like streaming and do that all in one day. Because another thing that is a bit labor intensive and exhausting, which is not me complaining, just being perfectly honest, is streaming. Streaming takes a lot out of me. But that is all okay. I'm glad I'm not hosting the Seder this year, because that would be really challenging for me today. Well, I also wouldn't be streaming today if I knew I had people coming over tomorrow. Cool. Oh man, seeing the sparkles, they just make me so happy. Let's get a little more pink. Remember when I thought I was going to need to get more dye to do this? 2 pinches, man. 2 pinches was enough. Whew. All right, so I think I'll probably hit about 15 skeins today, because this is my last one. So then what's going to happen with the rest of this dye? That's future Rebecca's problem. I will use it up for something, but I will probably put it in that box where I've been putting it so far today. And yeah, that was a lot of pink that I just did, but you know what we can do? Move it. Yeah, it'll probably dry out some, which will be good. Just got so much on my hand. Yeah, things will probably dry out a little bit, but at least it'll be in a good covered container, away from where any pets. You'll notice that Indy, I put him upstairs so he would not interrupt. But yeah. The zebra base is so fun. I love, and I wonder how long it takes wool to dye for to develop a new yarn base. And I'm focusing on them because they have so many more bare yarn bases than like Knit Picks does. But I think that because Knit Picks also dyes the yarn and that they sell. I think things in development just takes a lot longer because I don't think they come out with just like a bunch of bare yarn anywhere near as often. It's always so amusing to me how like poison the green will look at first, and then eventually it turns a bit bluer, which is nice. Okay. Be very careful with the blue, Rebecca. So the two bases I have here, these last two, one of them is the multicolored nets, and the other is the zebra. And I'm being so good by not overdoing the blue. I don't know if any of you remember when I used to use Frozen for my neon blue instead of Caribbean blue, but it worked well. The Frozen was nice because it is more of a pastel. But then at the same time, you needed so much more of it to have any punch that felt remotely similar. Okay, purple. Now I will admit, and don't worry, I'm taking care of myself, but my back is starting to hurt. And I'm amused because, I mean, it makes sense. I'm leaning a bit. But don't worry, I am taking care of myself. Is there a color that I missed? I don't think so. Need a little bit more purple on this skein. These two I've really been working in tandem. But I definitely learned that the color that I probably need the most of when I do something like this is green. Because I think that that's the color that doesn't show up as much as the others. And the one I need the least of is the Caribbean blue. Not so bad, right? Okay, now obviously also the reason why I'm not going to just immediately go and try to use up these leftover dyes is because I might need to add more dye to some of these colorways. I might realize, gee, I need more green after all, and I want to have that flexibility. All right, I'm going to set this aside. Whew. Woo-wee. A lot of times I will reuse my gloves. This pair I just threw away. Sometimes if they're doing that much work in a day, then they're done. Now the other thing I'm going to do now, while I'm thinking about it, and I probably should have left gloves on for this so I don't stain my hands, but I wanted to breathe. I always store all my dyes in a secondary container in a dry spot, and so I'm going to put this away. Hee hee! I'm being so good! I did a quick rinse on the steam pan I was using. There wasn't much there, which is good. I will be doing another pass on here before I put this away. You can see that we do have color that was on here, but I like to get this shower curtain nice and saturated because then if there's powder, it'll dissolve, which is good.
And then the last big thing that I'm going to do for now is I'm going to do a quick wipe of the floor. I will use like a Swiffer wet jet later. Well, this is very good. I mean, I don't want to show off how dirty my floors are, but there was one blue speck, which is what, and that's why I always clean my floors. Whew. And then wash my hands again. Now, eventually when I remove the shower curtain, I do clean the counter. I clean around the stove, and so that's all stuff that happens as well, but I don't need to do all of that right now because you can't see what I'm doing anyway. But believe me, if there's ever a time when I end up with a ton of dye on my floor, I will let you know. But I try to be very careful, and so far so good. Whew. Okay. Autofocus. Oh my gosh, it does not like that. Well, good thing I'm coming back here. But yeah, there's a comment. Autofocus does not like the shower curtain and nothing else. Good thing there wasn't anything there to see anyway. Wait, was there a weird sound? Oh, funny, I didn't know that that made a sound when it's trying to focus. It could be the camera trying to focus, or it could have been me, like, wiping something. That could have been the sound, too. So, like, I did a quite quick wipe of, like, the counters around the stove, which, again, is not usually a place where I ever find color, but I always like to check. You'd like to know, let's see, most of your patterns are digital. You bought a bunch of shelves so your boxes are off the floor now? Oh yeah, all my shelves are full. And then most of your patterns are digital or you'd be in big trouble. I have a folder of digital patterns, but I also like to print them out because I like to use either like a chart keeper to keep track of things, or I like to physically mark things on them, especially if I'm doing a sweater or something. Then I can say like, okay, I did this many rows before switching the colors, then I can keep track of things like that. Oh yeah, my Crocs. It could have been my Crocs squeaking on the floor. Yeah, I think my Crocs definitely squeaked. But I think an order just came through. Thank you to whomever did that. I'm checking so that way I can say if it was something that you just watched me dye. And maybe, but I might be dyeing some more. I'll have to check the inventory. So probably at least one of them was dyed today, but I'll probably dye 2 at the same time. So that way I can have consistency. But thank you. You know who you are. Yeah. This is not a long stream, but I am very tired. Veronica, thank you. No, because I'm trying to think. I think I've dyed. I don't remember how many of the DKs I dyed today so far. I'll have to count in the end because I ran up at one point and grabbed more yarn, and so that was not what I had counted. Oh, good question. Not sure if I missed this, but will we get a recap video of the dried yarns together from this stream? I am going to try to have a clip of that in the SMSMS vlog. So I'm very much hoping to do that. Because I did film, I didn't film a voiceover for it. Why don't I go do that now? And so normally when I do a vlog, I try to have it chronological. But, oh, I could film the voiceover not on the camera. Normally I film vlog stuff on my phone, so I could do that, even though I brought over my camera so I could show it here. Okay. This is Dyeing the Rainbow Yarn Mops for the vlog of voiceover. I dyed the neon rainbow yarn mops on a stream on April 11th. And I pre-soaked the yarn off camera. I pre-soaked the yarn with no acid, but then added the yarn to a different bath that had 16 cups of water and 8 tablespoons of white vinegar. A little bit higher than I normally would go in terms of the amount of acid, but since I'm going to use neon fluorescent colors and those can take more time to strike, I figured that this makes sense. And then I started randomly applying these colors onto the yarn, and it was so much fun. I thought I might want to double process each skein, but one pass, or really 1.5 passes, tended to be enough. You'll notice that I added the dyes into cups, so that way I wouldn't have to go back and forth into the dye containers and introduce moisture in there. But this worked out really, really well. And, okay, and this is with the face now, Rebecca. And I'm really excited to show you how this all turned out. And hopefully future Rebecca took some footage of the finished dry yarn, so we can show that when we show all the other finished yarn and conclusions in this vlog. Rebecca, please remember. So there you get a little sneak peek of the vlog too. Because the nice thing is that if then, by the time I get to filming that part of the vlog, which is usually around when I start shipping, that will remind me that I need to do that. And so, if I have all the yarn twisted already, then I can untwist it. It's amazing to see behind the scenes of the vlog. Oh. Now I need to add that. Oh, and I totally filmed this clip for the vlog while on a live stream, so some of you may have watched the behind the scenes of me filming for the vlog. And I think that that is hilarious, and it's so much fun. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to include that I did this on stream. I feel so awkward when I vlog. I don't feel awkward when I sit here and I talk to the camera, but watching me do the voiceover, notice how like my eyes were going all over the place and I was not focused looking in any one spot because I was focusing so hard on like what I wanted to say. And so then you'll be able to see how I edited it all together. And actually that is a reason why one of the things that I do for ChemKnits patrons over on Patreon is I'll do a live stream that is behind the scenes of me working on an episode of Dyepot Weekly. And so it's like so they get to see the unedited whatever it is I'm doing. Maybe I'll be doing a time lapse, sometimes I make dye stocks, sometimes it'll be, you know, multiple clips from the video, but then I might explain what it is I'm doing and why, or they may see me redo the intro a couple of times because I keep stumbling over words. I very rarely do scripts. I mentioned that sometimes for a short, I will write a script for a voiceover. If I find it's I either do that for two reasons. One, either I am talking way too long when I'm trying to do it just straight, or there's like a point that I really want to hit, and so then I might do like a little bit of a script. Or if it's sponsored, then I will definitely do some kind of script. But yeah, the times I'm most likely to write things down is when I am stumbling over digressions and not being focused. It is really hard for me to be focused on like 1 or 2 points for a 1-minute video. I want to share everything and all the thoughts and everything. So that's really, really hard for me sometimes. There are a few times when I will have a script But I try to, instead of having like a strict script, have more of an outline. And so, yeah, if there's a lot of cuts when I do a talking head, and I don't do the tricks that other people do to hide that by like using like zooms to like take out a jump cut, I will cut like me coughing, me scratching my nose, huge pauses. I try to cut around those because I'm like, Rebecca, get to the point. Get to the point. But there are times when like I might have, you know, phrases that I'm trying to hit, but usually that's if I have a sponsor versus if it's just me. But like if I go back to the Kickstarter video that I made where I did have a script, I was so awkward in front of the camera. I was so nervous. I remember we had a day Keith was behind the camera and the kids, one of the kids was napping, and so I'm trying to get this all out before the kids are awake, and I was stressed and trying to hit these points so that way I would have enough to edit together. And now I'm much less nervous about that. And you know what it was that got me to come back in front of the camera a lot more often outside of streams and things? My collaboration with like Knit Crate / Dyer Supplier. When I knew I was making videos for another platform, I wanted it to be recognizable as being me. And so therefore I put my face in front of it, because one of the big perks for me for compensation was exposure. To have a bare yarn company share my tutorials, then maybe people will look for more things for me. And so that was like a huge opportunity and a huge value to me. Not that, I mean, I still got paid as well, but I wouldn't do something just for exposure. But it's a very hard balance being in the position that I'm in when an opportunity comes, that you want to do the opportunity because of the like partially because there's a huge cross advertising exposure potential, but you don't want to, when negotiating, you don't want to ask for too much, so then they won't want to do it with you anymore. And so it's like, I'm going to turn the steamer baskets down a bit. And so that's something that I struggle with when working with companies. Because a lot of times I will still sometimes do things just for product. Because I'm like, okay, that gives me less bias per se. And like when I worked with Jacquard to, like when they asked for my input on their new acid dye colors, and there were a few colors that aren't the ones that were released. Ultimately, the ones that I liked the best were the ones that they liked the best anyway, but they did send me a couple like alternate options. And I did give input on the names of the colors too. So that was really exciting. They did not pay me for that except in, like they gave me a ton of dye. So they paid me in like supplies, which is, for me, since that's what I use, is valuable, right? But then they did pay me directly for creating some sponsored videos to promote the launch. And then I gave them some of my images that then they were allowed to use for promoting it. And so, yeah, and so then like, you know, I like, that was a relationship that was really wonderful, and I really enjoyed working with them. They're like, I'm surprised that they're a pretty like small company, all things said. What was I gonna say? But yeah, and then I would say most of the compensation I get from companies is affiliate revenue, where it's driven more by what I decide to share and promote versus what they're asking me to promote, which means I can promote the things that I genuinely like. I've had opportunities. I think my favorite one was when like there was a chance for me to get a free resin 3D printer, which is not related to my content, but probably because I show a 3D printer in my vlogs some of the time. That was my favorite request, and I like the company, I just didn't know how to make a video. Oh my gosh, I would absolutely Like, I mean, I don't want to be like rude to like wool to dye, or it's funny. I have a short that'll come out about like asking people about, it wasn't quite like influencer things, but I think wool to dye for is big enough that I don't think they need me to promote them per se. Wool to dye for, if you're watching and want to send me free things to review, happy to do it. But I don't know if I'm on their radar because I am not one of their biggest customers. I don't place the biggest orders. There are other people that buy way more yarn from them. And so, yeah, I don't know if, I don't know how much that would benefit them for me to do, because I think that for people starting out, and the first time I went to Wool to Dye For's website, I was intimidated because I was like, oh man, this is for wholesalers. Like, you know, you have to buy a 10-pack. That was nerve-wracking for starting, even though there are some sample skein options. But it took me a while to start ordering from them more, just because I was intimidated. And it was a lot easier for me to lean on knit picks because I knew all the yarn bases already. I had been using them for years, and so dyeing the same yarn bases that I knew already worked for me. And that's a reason why, even though some of their yarn bases are really expensive now, comparatively to like what Wool to Dye For offers, I still use like Knit Pick Stroll. I also like Knit Pick Stroll a little bit more than Platinum. Like, I like Platinum fine, but I love Knit Pick Stroll. It is my favorite. And so I will likely keep using it. And so, yeah, those are all things that like go through like my brain and stuff. But yeah. Do you have any tips for someone starting out in a hand-dyed yarn business? Yes, I do. Take like good, and you just hopped in, so I hope it wasn't already asked. It wasn't already asked, but so I would say the big things is to make sure you think about what your costs are. And like on a spreadsheet, look at the cost of yarn, but also consider what the cost of other materials are for your process. So, oh gosh. So there's the yarn, there's the dyes, which like the cost of dyes can be really negligible. Sometimes I vary what I put that on a spreadsheet. Like if I'm dyeing yarn with Kool-Aid, then it can be like $2 for the dye for a skein. If I'm using acid dyes, it's way less than that. And so having just like a rough estimate for that, but think about gloves, potentially water, which may be negligible, but like consider water, gas, and like utilities. The cost of like shower curtains for your drop cloth, which maybe you buy one every year, but consider these when you're setting up like your prices and what are worth it to you. And then of course, yeah, the labels that you're going to use, business cards, and things like that, which I don't always include all of that in all of my yarn, but I also have other income sources that allow me to sort of have that wrapped into like my ad revenue or something. And of course then what I was going to say is your time is also important. And so consider how long it might take you to do something, and don't undervalue yourself. And so I would say that there are different formulas for how people might mark up the costs. And a lot of times people will not take labor into consideration when they're setting their prices, because they'll see, okay, everything else that I get is all profit, which is a fine way to think about it, but you want to make sure that technically, if you're paying yourself for labor, that it doesn't count as part of your profit. It might for like taxes and stuff, but when you're setting your prices, you want to make sure that you'll be making a reasonable hourly wage, right? And then how much would you put away for marketing? I don't pay for marketing. And if I do ever, it's like not very much. I would say that the best way to market yourself is to do social media, probably. That's the best way to get people to find you. Now, you don't have to do what I do and film your whole process and do tutorials, but sharing pictures like on Instagram or videos and stuff, that is a way to get customers. And there are a lot of different people out there who are dyeing yarn and selling it. And so if you find your own angle, like my niche, what sets me apart is that my yarn comes with a video of me dyeing it, almost every single skein. And there's a lot of other dyers that share their dyeing process, but there's not necessarily a video dedicated to every single skein that's out there. And so that's one thing that I did that I think makes me different than a lot of other dyers. And so I would say social media is a good way to do it. I find, even though I have complaints about Etsy sometimes, and I've had my rants, Etsy is a very good place to start because it is a very low cost way to set up a shop, and then you can eventually move to your own like independent platform. There are some dyers who don't sell online, they only sell to like local yarn stores, and that's something I don't have experience with. I don't have experience with that or doing in-person shows. My margins are not good enough for me to do wholesale. And social media is also part of your time, and so exactly. So I would say for me, my income revenue, I don't remember which pot that was for, but it's fine. I can leave both baskets on until the other timer goes off. So for me, my revenue streams, I would say Etsy is the biggest part. And then I guess Tide would probably be like Patreon and YouTube are pretty on like the same, are close to like similar amounts, which might be showing how little YouTube pays. And then I would say affiliate revenue can be sometimes really big, sometimes really small. I think that lately it has been smaller than it used to be. So yeah, but it means that like Patreon gives me an insane amount of flexibility. It lets me take more risks in some of the things that I do. And the same thing with YouTube. It allows me to take more risks on videos sometimes because it's less of a, if I don't sell the yarn, then I'm in big trouble. And then the other thing that I do is consider, when I'm setting my prices, I consider what kinds of sales I might do. So if I'm gonna have like a 25% off coupon at some point, will I still make a profit? Or is that, and the way I kind of look at it is the dollar amount of profit that I would make worth my time still? And so sometimes I sell things at a bit of a loss, occasionally, but I have the ability to do that. So when I do my Black Friday sale and I do like a buy a skein that I dyed, get a mystery skein for $10, sometimes the $10 skein, the bare yarn may have cost $10. So a lot of times that might be at a loss, but to do that once a year and to help move through some inventory, it's fun to be able to do that. I really enjoy that sale. And so I hope that that's like helpful, you know? Yeah, and so then that's something that is very, I guess, very much something to consider. What else was I going to say? But yeah, I guess have fun. Make sure that you love what you're doing. And, oh, it's my pleasure. I've been thinking about like doing a longer video on this. I mean, right now I'm not going about this in any kind of organizing way. It's sort of just stream of consciousness. But I would say also, and this is something I have a short coming out about, is that I invite all kinds of questions, and I'm happy to be super open about things, but I would not go ask other dyers where they get their materials, how much they pay for things, and ask for like advice about that unless they invite people to ask those kinds of questions. I would say that like it's one thing to say, hey, do you have, if it's someone that you've been interacting with, it's one thing to say, do you have any advice about making wholesale contracts or things like that, versus saying, where do you buy your yarn? What are your recipes? You know, there's a difference there, but I invite questions and I always welcome questions. Yes. The ignore. Where else was I say? Yeah, loving what you do. And I would say invest in equipment and yarn slowly. I would say that I would not go buy 1,000 skeins of yarn right away. I would do it in a slower way and sort of build up versus buying a ton of yarn all at once. And then also, I guess you have to decide what kind of model you want. Do you want to have a dyed-to-order business model or a ready-to-ship model? So my model is all ready to ship, with the exception of what I was doing today. Otherwise, the yarn that I dye has already been dyed, and so I very rarely do something that is more dyed to order. And so that is something, I feel like I'm massively overexposed right now. And so that is something that you definitely want to consider. That's something that you definitely want to consider when you're putting things together. And so I know for me, I don't do a lot of dyed to order because I'm not always, like I have some chronic health things, and so I'm not always having capability to go and dye things up with the turnaround needed. And so trying to make sure that you can are reasonable with the time frames you allow yourself is also important. But yeah, I guess the biggest thing is have fun and try. I would say, what you can do is forego paying yourself at first and reinvest whatever profits you get into more yarn and supplies and try to do things that way. I'm very lucky that I have always been profitable. Because I had a blog before I turned it into a business, it technically was business income back then when it was just my website with me blogging things. But then because I lucked into keeping this lab notebook for myself that other people liked to read and ended up then also making videos and leaning into it, I started out a situation where, okay, I was bringing in enough money and I could use that to buy supplies. So I never needed to take out any loans to do this. But I'm also lucky that I have a partner who supports me and allows me to do something that is a little bit less consistent income-wise. So, but it does also, by me doing this, it gives me flexibility and allows me to be the default parent, so that way if a kid is sick or whatever, then I can do that. And so, yeah. You were working on a business plan, that's a great idea. Yeah, I think thinking through the numbers, and then also, I guess, here's the other thing that's useful. Because if you're doing this as a hobby supplemental to other income, then that's a different story. If you want to do this to replace income from another job, think about when you're pricing things out, how much you need to charge for yarn, how many skeins of yarn do you need to sell a month to hit the target that you need to cover bills and things. And that is not something that I have done personally. I have targets and things, but also my shop sales have 2 massive peaks based on SMSMS and Hanukkah. And otherwise things are pretty, like, usually pretty consistent. So you will see the most sales leading up to Christmas. And that's the time when, like, and sales are probably the slowest in January and like July, surprisingly. Even though you would think summer is the time when people might start making presents, that like September is when that starts ramping up again. Yeah, and so I think that, yeah, just thinking through the numbers before diving in is helpful. And then it may take work to get the first sale, but yeah, I think that, again, try to have fun. I mean, I think I don't have the inventory to do it, like the inventory to do a booth at a show. And I think before signing up for a show ever, I'm going to just turn off the steamer baskets. I think before signing up for a show, it's also important to run those numbers, because if a show has a fee, so outside of like your yarn costs, if you're going to go to an in-person show, which is going to bring a lot of eyes and a lot of shoppers with money in their pockets who want to buy yarn, so a very targeted audience that is great. Before doing a show, think about, okay, what's the fee for a booth? What does it cost to rent truck or supplies to set up said booth? You know, do you have to travel, so gas? Do you need to rent a hotel or Airbnb? Think about all those, and then think about how many skeins of yarn do I need to sell to cover that to break even before then thinking about making a profit. And so then that could help you decide if it might be beneficial to you or not, especially if travel is involved. Now, some shows have like a reasonable price, and so if like, oh, okay, maybe I need to sell 10 skeins of yarn to break even for like transport and everything I need. Oh, and if you have to hire like a booth helper, if you have to hire someone to help run the booth with you. Oh, I forgot one other cost, listing fees and credit card fees. I'll come back to that. But before something in person in a show, like, if you have to think about how many skeins of yarn you need to sell, and if you think that that is achievable, and if you have the inventory to do that. So I feel like if I was going to go and do something like Vogue Knitting Live, I don't know what the booth fees and stuff are. I don't physically have enough inventory to fill a booth. I don't, right? And I'm like, I don't think the math would work for me to turn a profit in any kind of way. Now, one thing shows can give you is give you exposure, and people you meet at shows might become customers longer. And so I think that there are perks there. And I know there are a lot of dyers who they do almost all their business at shows, and that's wonderful. It's just worth thinking through. That's all. But another big cost factor is, so if you're going to make your own shop on, say, Shopify, Shopify has like a flat fee per month for you, but then there are credit card processing fees, and so you need to usually credit card fees are around like 3% with maybe 25 cents plus like 25 cents plus 3% of the total purchase value. And so that's something that you need to factor into your prices. On Etsy, there's a 20-cent listing fee, and then there are they take a fee on top of everything else, which, what is it, around 10% right now? And so those are other things that you need to factor in. The nice thing about Etsy is that the 20 cents listing fee lasts for 90 days. And then there's no other upfront costs. Everything else you pay after the sale is made. So, yeah, I mean, I definitely have, like, on my spreadsheet, I have formulas that are, but the new thing that Etsy did, and by new, they did it at this point this year, on Etsy, if you refer your own sales, so if someone goes, instead of searching for Etsy for me, if they go to chemknitscreations.etsy.com and makes a purchase, I will get 4% of the fees that Etsy would take back. So it's like they've turned us into affiliates for ourselves. which is nice because I think they're finally valuing that there are people with Etsy stores who market their own items, and therefore that's money that Etsy is not having to pay for advertising. And so, yeah, that is something that is really nice. But that 4%, which all of you are the best, I get a lot of that back, and that is something that is like substantial. I don't count on it because that's like a bonus. I'm so glad I could help. This is fun. Yeah, and I mean, I personally love going to fiber festivals, and I know a lot of people like doing, there's different types of contracts you can get with local yarn stores. Some stores will do things on consignment, where you send them yarn and you only get paid if they sell the yarn. But so then you're assuming the risk there. There are other contracts where you do the wholesale, so you sell the yarn to them for, I've seen some people will have contracts between, the splits might be 70-30 to the dyer, 60-40, or 50-50. You can never remember which one of those helps. You always go to my most recent video and click on the top shop link in the description. Thank you. And if you ever forget, it's not a problem. It's never a problem. But yeah, having like the my shop name first in the URL, which thankfully is the way I put it on my business cards. So, but yeah, the different shops will have different terms, and there are pluses and minuses. People will also do trunk shows. Those are usually on consignment, but again, those are not things I've ever looked into because I don't dye enough of the same colorway, I think, to make it worthwhile, per se. Because I think that, I don't think a yarn shop would want to have like 3 skeins of each colorway. I think they would want to have more. And so that's not something I do that often, only a handful times a year. So, but yeah, and as I showed, if you're ever curious, I can bring this back again. Let's see. I'm going to go to my own video. Okay, we'll go to this one. Okay, I'm going to let the ad finish. Even though now I want to sing the tagline. But I'm not going to give the ad free advertising. No, no, no. I don't know if I get paid when I get ads on my own videos. Oh my gosh, there's 2 ads? I'll switch over in a second. Okay, now I can skip. Oh, and there's never any problem for you to skip ads on my videos. Yeah, that's not a problem. All right. Here is one of my recent videos, and we're going to go down to the video description. So usually, I talked about this at the beginning of the video, but usually what I will have at the very top of the video description includes, like if there's something very recent that I'm doing, maybe if I have that yarn for sale, although that often might be in the comments. So here I have links to Spring Mini Skein Mini Series, and then I always have the shop linked very near the top of the video. And then I usually have the lab partner links. Oh yeah, you can join the channel to get fun ChemKnits emotes, like the beautiful one Beth put in of me laughing. I mentioned earlier that was my favorite emote, and so I had my own version of that. And then I have like my links and affiliate links in this section. And then here's the video contents that I mentioned before. And down here is where I'll have the individual acid dye colors. I'll say like, oh, how much vinegar I added, sometimes how much water. And I try to have those details there, mainly for my own reference, because then if I want to repeat something, I can go down there and look. And then towards the bottom, oh God, I don't even know. Do I still have? There's still, I don't know if I've ever been paid for anything that's been in here. Hilarious, I still have that link. I'll have to log in at some point. That is funny. I mean, I use this mug all the time. All the time. That's like my favorite mug. And I get mad if one of the kids uses it. So, okay, that's really funny. I mean, in theory, I don't know if they've ever paid me through anything, so whatever. I should probably remove that. Okay, but I'm linked to my website, me on Facebook, Patreon. I don't have my Instagram down there. Huh. It's been a while since I've updated that. That all automatically goes into each video. And so, yeah, but if you join the channel, yeah, for 99 cents a month, you can get the badge next to your name and the ChemKnits emotes. And then at the postdoc level, you basically get some of the perks that are available to ChemKnits patrons for the similar price. On Patreon, I tried to have it be as consistent as possible. But anyway, oops, that's not what I meant to do. Oh, I was just going to go to my channel page. And so here at the top, I have my links. I don't post, like, I never really posted on Twitter anyway. Everything I had there was always auto-posted, and now I don't use that anyway. But in theory, if I were to do something like that, then that's my Blue Sky, which is new. But then my Instagram is here. I guess I don't have my TikTok here, but I'm just ChemKnits on TikTok as well. So, yeah, those are my links. Oh, hey, this is how many videos I have. I have almost 2,000 videos. Oh, yeah, and they just had a thing. Wait, it's my 15-year birthday on YouTube. I first set it up on April 10th, 2010. No wonder behind the scenes they were giving me that. Let's see. Etsy annoys you when you click on my shop and it shows you a bunch of stuff from other shops and just sprinkles in a few of mine in. Oh, that's annoying. You mean like on the... Oh, because like down for the like you may also like, or for the more from the shop section. Because I don't know how much of this I'm seeing... Oh, can I follow? I can't follow my own shop. It won't let me. I wonder how much of this is mine. Yeah, because clearly I'm logged in. Oh, that's still out of focus. That's hilarious. Well, yeah, yesterday. Okay, but still, like, basically, like, today. My YouTube birthday. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, so I first set up YouTube because I wanted... Let's see. Can I sort by oldest? These really bad, really bad tutorials. I wanted to, for the blog, for my website, I decided I think there was a pattern I made, and I wanted to include some videos on how to do it, because I didn't know how to describe it. So I was like, oh, I can upload the videos on YouTube and then put that in my blog. And so I was like, oh, that works. And then what happened was that All Free Knitting reached out to me and wanted to pay me to make some videos that would be posted on my channel and their channel. So that's when I made some of these dyeing videos and some of these other knitting tutorials way back then. And I think they paid me like $15 a video or something small. But then I stopped making videos for them because they wanted exclusive, because YouTube then started not wanting things posted on multiple channels, and so they wanted exclusive use to it. Instead of, like in my contracts, we both would post. And I retained like some ownership to it. And so that's when I started making those. And then I was like, oh, but that, you know, the $15 for a video, that helped me get yarn to make the videos, right? And then, like around then YouTube let me start doing ads or something, and so, yeah. Oh, you can't see. I'm like showing all this, and I didn't have the screen on. My oldest videos. But yeah, I wanted to, there was a book like Knit One Below, and I was obsessed with those patterns, and I did a Knit One Below like baby hat, and I think I did like a beer cozy. And so I just needed that, I wanted that to go with my blog, and so that's where like I uploaded things, and like see my nice watermark. And then I started doing, on some of these others, I would do like the, hopefully there's no ad. No! Fine. I get free bonus. Okay, but see, I have that screen because I wanted to advertise my vlog, and when they put the videos up, I wanted people to know, they saw this, oh, I should see what this ChemKnits thing is, this ChemKnits person. So that's why I started doing that. And that's where I started saying, maybe back then I did, this is Rebecca from ChemKnits, because again, I started doing that because I wanted like people to come find me. So, oh man, guys, I'm like running on fumes right now, but this was so much fun, and I hope this is fun for you to see too as I'm going down all this like memory lane. It could be because it could be on your phone. I don't use the mobile, I don't think I have an Etsy app on my phone. I have, I have the like sell on Etsy app, but otherwise I don't use an app. Wait, I'm very confused. My dad just sent me, like, asking me if I could print for the kids' room, like a Dr. Seuss print. And I'm like, meaning, do I like the print for it? I'll have to call my dad and ask. I'm like, I don't know what he means. You like hanging out with me? Thank you. I probably should sign off because I should go eat. And hey, I did some cleaning before I sat down. That was like past Rebecca helping out present Rebecca. Like past Rebecca as in Rebecca from like an hour ago. And I can't tell if it went blurry or if my eyes, maybe, okay, I think it was, the camera went a little, what did I do? What did I do? There we go. Oh man. And it's like, this is when my brain starts to go, and I love that I'm hanging out with like my best friend in a very unsafe way, because I don't want to knock. Camera does not have a name, but I shoot most things, now lately I've been shooting in 4K on a Canon EOS 90D. I love the EOS line. I have both the 70 and the 80 and now the 90. I forgot when I decided to upgrade. I guess, on the 80, the little toggle between like film and still broke, and so it's stuck on film. And I need to get that repaired still. But the 70D, I wore out the shutter, which shows how many pictures I took. And I did get that one repaired, because I think it was only a couple $100s to send it to Canon for repair. And so now I use that one for like personal stuff. So yeah, good job, past Rebecca. Who's the song reminiscing by? Oh man, okay, wait, so my husband, so he's a professor, and he's teaching like basically like a 3D printing course this semester. And one of the awesome things he's done is like they look into like cool things that have been 3D printed, and like, you know, people 3D printing like coral reef replacements that the coral organisms will move into, 3D printing like prosthetics, 3D printing like houses, and like there's all kinds of stuff, even like some small things like a cool like toy. But they have two, like the class submitted a bunch of cool things, and then they've had like a tournament and voted on things each week. But then he went through and he took all of the like past projects that didn't win their brackets and put it to the like I Will Remember You soundtrack and had them like fade in and out. And I guess the class lost it. And so I was like, that is, it's like, I don't know if it was worth the time to do it, but I think that, like, I was like, oh, that's hilarious. Like, oh man. And I'm not going to, oh, I see, yeah. And actually, I wonder if, Because if I search Etsy, if I go on Etsy and I search for just ChemKnits, there are other things that show up. I do have it in the tag of all of it. So it makes me wonder, so some of them are ads by Etsy seller. I wonder if some of those are, like, I don't know why they would put an ad with the search term ChemKnits. Can you see the tags that someone uses? Okay, I don't see ChemKnits on their related searches. I didn't show who I pulled up, but and I also can't share incognito tabs on here. Ooh, ice cream truck. The only reason why I went incognito is because I was curious. This is so funny. Yeah, I think if you go down at the bottom, you can see of a listing, then maybe you can see the tags. No, actually, you're not seeing the tags because it says explore more related searches, and it's like UV sock yarn, glow in the dark sock yarn, and I'm like, it's not glow in the dark, so that's not a tag that I put on. So fine. It's possible. It is possible that other, and I mean, I don't think I'm like the biggest seller on Etsy by like any stretch, and yeah, some of these other shops have way more like ratings than me, so they have more sales than me. So I don't know why, if I search for ChemKnits, which is very unique, things show up ahead of me, right? So yeah, because if, here, let me do this on, and this is no shade to, this is no shade to anyone that does this. Verifying the device, what the, because like, so you know, this is an ad by the Etsy seller, so again, I don't know if they like put anything related to me in there, but clearly, like, I mean, some of this stuff is definitely not me, some of it is, but it's weird. It's weird that like when it's part of like my shop name, that not a lot comes up, or like that other people's stuff is showing up. And so again, here's me searching for my shop name, which is unique. And, well, did I mean the shop ChemKnits Creations? But yes. Okay, that just took me to my shop. Fine. But it is weird. Most of this is my stuff now, except for that one ad. That it made me wonder, funny. It makes me wonder if, oops. It makes me just wonder, just out of curiosity, if, like, if that is like a search term that someone has put in, you know? But again, I don't know, and this isn't me like accusing or anything, because ultimately, like, people can do what they want. It's only if you have like a contract or something that you can't. So like, I am not allowed to buy ads on YouTube that use like nitpicks or something. So I'm not allowed to use it. I'm not allowed to pay to try to get one of my pages above this, above Nitpicks company, like, you know, like I can't use one of their trademarked or brand names to try to outrank them on search results to get affiliate income. But yeah, but for a while I had like a where to buy bare yarn that ranked really high on search results. It may not anymore, but yeah. But anyway, I'm signing off. I have no idea how many people are watching. I have not checked that at all today. That is something I can see. It's funny because I can see. It's definitely gone down. as I muse, which is totally fine. Totally fine. Thank you all for joining today. Again, check out my shop, please. That's the biggest financial way you can support things here. But by far the biggest thing you can do to support the brand and everything that I do is by subscribing, commenting on my videos, giving them a thumbs up. That helps YouTube know that like you like the content, and then they're more likely to recommend it to other people. So by far that helps me. And even if you may not be a huge fan of short form content, if you watch my shorts and give those thumbs up as well, then those are now, we talked about marketing. Making shorts is the biggest way people find me now. My biggest source of new subscribers is from shorts, which is why I'm sharing more of them, because like, if that means that someone piques their interest and then they join and like, you know, want to buy yarn or support this content, that's really good. So yeah, lots of thumbs ups. And I hope that you all have a wonderful weekend if you're celebrating Passover. Chag Sameach. Yeah, even though sometimes it feels weird to say Chag Sameach around Passover, is that appropriate? I never know. But we're having a wonderful Seder with friends tomorrow night that I'm very excited for. I have to go find all of my wooden and plastic Seder plates for all the little kids to play with. And yeah, my tummy is rumbling. I'm going to go have some lunch, and I will talk with you all soon. Bye, everyone. This is always the awkward moment when I say goodbye, and then I'm like, oh, I have to figure out how to turn it off. I'm like, where's my mouse? It's on the floor. Bye, everyone.